Chapter 1973. About half of the Three River Alliance disciples had already come out of the cave abode. The first to come out were Xian Immortal experts, then Heaven Immortal experts, then Earth Immortal experts. There were about 100,000 experts that came out, and the remaining worldly immortal disciples were about 400,000 to 500,000. With so many experts cultivating, it was equivalent to helping Gong Sunling refine the mountain river geographical map. All of them were experts whose cultivation level was much higher than Gong Sunling's, and the speed at which they worked together was almost like flying. Watching a complete demonic beast corpse silently merge into the ground at a speed visible to the naked eye and become a part of the mountain river geographical map, this feeling was very pleasant. What surprised Gong Sunling even more was that the merged demonic beast corpse would directly form a new spiritual vein at that location. This was something Gong Sunling never expected, and Yang Chun never expected. Who would have thought that the problem of the spiritual vein would be solved in this way? And they didn't even have to stay in the Dragon Palace for a long time. Demonic beasts above Xian Immortal level 5 would form a Heaven Immortal level spiritual vein, and those below this level would form a slightly lower level spiritual vein, an Earth Immortal level. But no matter what, such a huge number was enough to make up for the lack of level. But it was normal a Heaven Immortal level spiritual vein could only support the spiritual energy of a Heaven Immortal during cultivation. Although the corpses of Xian Immortal level 5 and above were lifeless, the spiritual energy contained within did not disappear, and after merging into a world, it was not surprising that it formed a spiritual vein suitable for Heaven Immortals to cultivate. Back in Immortal World, Long Xian alone provided the spiritual energy for everyone in the Zhao Manor to cultivate. The spiritual energy contained within the Xian Immortal level demonic beast corpse was enough to satisfy the cultivation needs of a few Heaven Immortals. 100,000 cultivators, all Earth Immortals, Heaven Immortals, and Xian Immortals, cultivated together, and the speed of refining the demonic beast corpse was like flying. A Xian Immortal level demonic beast corpse turned into a spiritual vein in less than 2 days. This change made Gong Sunling ecstatic, but also gave Yang Chun a lot of thoughts. If this was how the spiritual vein in Gong Sunling's mountain river geographical map was formed, then how did the spiritual vein in the real world appear? In the real world, there were more cultivators, but they did not discover any changes in the dead demonic beast corpses. Perhaps the real world was not as simple as a magic treasure. In the past, there were many aborigines, but most of them had very low cultivation levels. They didn't have a systematic cultivation method and didn't have heavenly tribulations. Most of them were at the golden core and nascent soul stages. Only a few could reach the great ascension stage, and even rarer Heaven Immortal level. However, these powers did not have a significant effect on the spiritual realm's mountain river geographical map. In the mountain river geographical map, everything must be controlled according to the Master Gong Sunling's mind. The cultivation base of these aborigines was low, and these masters of the Three River Alliance were in a bad mood recently. Gong Sunling did not want the two sides to meet and bring disaster to these aborigines. Although the cultivators of the Three River Alliance were not evil cultivators who would kill without a care for the consequences, but who knew what kind of personality they would have under the stimulation of the destruction of their sex, so it was better to be safe. The aboriginals were directly sent to the mortal world in the mountain river geographical map by Gong Sunling. The cultivators of the Three River Alliance still stayed in the so-called spiritual world. Of course, there were also the cultivators who Gong Sunling collected in the mortal world who had gone through the heaven tribulation with her. Those were real human immortals, not like the aboriginals. The sudden addition of the cultivators was the real, powerful force, almost reaching the effect of changing the world of the mountain river geographical map. With the fusion and refining of the demonic beast corpses, the spiritual vein in the mountain river geographical map increased, and the entire world of the mountain river geographical map became more and more stable. Of course, such a good thing as the spiritual vein should be given to one's own people. Those old people who followed Gong Sunling all the way in the mountain river geographical map, were used to living according to Gong Sunling's arrangements and orders, so they were naturally considered one of them. First, a few heaven immortal spiritual veins were given to those people. Of course, always ignoring the experts of the Three River Alliance didn't seem to be a solution. If these guys had nothing to do, there was no guarantee that they would come up with something. The pursuit of spiritual veins was not an ordinary kind of urgency for cultivators. If they accidentally found a few heaven immortal and earth immortal spiritual veins, these experts would definitely be very happy. Therefore, some of the Three River Alliance experts were pleasantly surprised to find that they actually met companions and acquaintances in this strange place. Even if they weren't familiar with each other, they were all from the same sect, so of course they had to stick together. Then, everyone was pleasantly surprised to find that there was a spiritual vein not far away. There were no other cultivators around the spiritual vein. Obviously, it was an ownerless land. What did cultivation rely on? Wasn't it the law, earth, companion, and wealth? Wasn't the spiritual vein the land of law, earth, companion, and wealth? Since it was an ownerless land, and everyone found it, didn't this fulfill everyone's wish to cultivate? This strange place was obviously not that bad. Just the discovery of the spiritual vein was enough for these cultivators to cultivate in peace for a long time. Because of the spiritual vein, the experts of the Three River Alliance selectively ignored the fact that they could no longer find the cave abode in the sect and began to focus on cultivation. No matter when, only one's own cultivation could save one's life. Everything else was meaningless. Since they came to a strange place, and there were no hidden dangers around, who would doubt the fact that a few people could occupy a spiritual vein for cultivation? One should know that even a mountain gate of the Three River Alliance only had 8 heaven immortal spiritual veins and a few hundred earth immortal spiritual veins. That was shared by many disciples. Now that a few people could share a heaven immortal spiritual vein, how could they not take advantage of it? The same thought appeared in dozens of small groups. The earth immortal and above experts who appeared first had already formed into small groups. The Three River Alliance was originally an alliance of rogue cultivators, so they didn't have a close relationship with each other. But now, there didn't seem to be anything wrong. No matter what, improving one's cultivation was the most important thing. Time flew, and in the blink of an eye, 10 years had passed. In 10 years, thousands of mystic immortal demon corpses had all been refined. Now, Gong Sunling's target had turned to the core cave abode of the Three River Alliance. As long as she refined this cave abode, not only would the mountain river geographical map have a bigger space, but the number of cultivators who could affect the map would also increase. Chapter 1974. While Gong Sunling was refining the mountain river geographical map, everyone did not rest. Apart from the metal element, the Dragon Palace had already gathered all the other 4 elements, except for Shi Shanshan and Murong Han, as well as several maids who have not yet had a fixed exclusive room. The rest of the women were cultivating in their respective rooms. However, Shi Shanshan and the others with the metal attribute were not so discouraged. Her husband had already made a deal with Ao Lan, an expert of the Dragon Clan. They believed that the Golden Dragon Palace would soon be merged into the 5 Elements Dragon Palace. All of this happened in front of the women's eyes. From having nothing in a mortal world to being able to cultivate in the 5 Elements Dragon Palace. If not for the fact that the Dragon Palace was right in front of them, they might have thought that it was a dream. Who would have thought that mortals could cultivate to this point? Gong Sunling had entered the state, and Zhou Xianying was also in seclusion. Yang Chun did not favor one and discriminated against the other. He paid attention to the cultivation of each of the women. With his experience of creating the Merit Golden Body secret art and cultivating to the present realm, plus the memory of the Zenith Heaven Golden Immortal in his previous life, it was more than enough to guide the wives and maids of any genius. Gao Yu's problem was how to refine the fire and water dragon horns completely. This problem was more complicated. Even Yang Chun did not have a comprehensive solution now. He could only let Gao Yu cultivate her spiritual power and divine sense first. As for the magic treasure, he would ask Brother Li Cheng the next time he met him. He believed that Brother Li Cheng would have a solution. Even if Brother Li Cheng did not fully understand the Dragon Clan, it was still possible to come up with a compromise. The short-term goal of Sun Qingshue's current cultivation was very clear. That was to completely refine the ultimate demonized vine. That was a powerful second-grade, earthly immortal. After being nurtured by devil qi for countless years, and after fusing with the blood demon vine, it was even more powerful. It was believed that when she refined it, her cultivation would at least reach the level of Earth Immortal. Sure, Shanshan's cultivation path was more clear. The supreme pure Yang Sword Qi would not fall behind even in the immortal world. In terms of pure attack power, it could be ranked in the top 3 of the Sword Qi. Just cultivating this Sword Qi was enough for Sure Shanshan to cultivate from the mortal world all the way to the immortal world. Right now, the Murong sisters were wholeheartedly focused on controlling the dragon puppet, and then using the intermediate golden immortal dragon puppet to help them refine the 5 elements rope hook. It had to be said that this was also a shortcut. No matter what, the dragon puppet was still a member of the Dragon Clan. Even if no one knew how the Dragon Clan should refine it, there wouldn't be any harm in letting the dragon puppet make a move. Tao Junqi and Shi Wushuang were relatively weaker, but under Yang Chen's guidance, their cultivation of Origin Spirit Force had also reached the point of perfection, and their cultivation had advanced by leaps and bounds. Speaking of which, the cultivation of Yang Chen's wives and concubines was quite normal. However, Lady Fanghua and her disciples were a bit confusing to Yang Chen. Lady Fanghua and the rest cultivation levels were still within the normal range. Compared to before the Devil Calamity, there was a slight increase, but it was still within expectations. However, during the 10 years that they had been by Yang Chen's side, Lady Fanghua and the rest had given Yang Chen a huge surprise. The Devil Sex cultivation technique was indeed a rapid advancement, and everyone had a concept of it. Yang Chen was also very clear about it. However, no matter how rapid the advancement was, it was impossible to directly advance from the 7th stage of the Earth Immortal stage to the peak of the Earth Immortal stage in a short 10 years, right? What was even more surprising was that Lady Fanghua wasn't the only one who advanced. Even the cultivation of the 30 beautiful maids had increased like a hot knife through butter. To advance from the 5th stage of the Earth Immortal stage to the 9th stage of the Earth Immortal stage in 10 years, no matter how one looked at it, wasn't normal. You guys use the Millennium Pill? There's no need, right? Yang Chen couldn't help but ask in surprise. This kind of advancement could only be explained by using the Millennium Pill. Could it be that there was some kind of devil technique that Yang Chen didn't know about that could increase one's cultivation quickly? No, it's Big Brother Li Cheng's Heavenly Essence Pill and the 28 Constellation Sky Splitting Array. Lady Fanghua enjoyed looking at Yang Chen's surprised expression. She finally covered her mouth and laughed for a while before replying with a sweet smile. In the past, I have been consolidating my cultivation according to your instructions. Recently, I felt that it was enough, so I started to refine the Heavenly Essence Pill that Big Brother Li Cheng gave me. The group of maids also smiled sweetly. Their husband was really muddle-headed at times, but the concern in his words was not fake. All the maids felt a burst of sweetness in their hearts. A Heavenly Essence Pill could increase your cultivation so much. Yang Chen was a little stunned. He originally thought that the Millennium Pill that he refined with the demonic killing bead was already very amazing. He didn't expect that Big Brother Li Cheng would use a pill to increase the average cultivation of 31 Earth Immortals to near the peak of the Earth Immortal stage. What kind of concept was this? That's not it. Lady Fanghua replied with a coquettish voice. Yang Chen also heaved a sigh of relief. If a pill could really have such an effect, then all the alchemists in the spiritual world should be ashamed to death. Less than half a pill. Seeing that Yang Chen was obviously relaxed, Lady Fanghua seemed to have guessed the reason. This almost mature stunner turned her eyes and said slowly in a very innocent tone. While talking, she also took out a golden medicinal pill for Yang Chen to see. Grandpa, you see it's less than 1/10 of it. Looking at the heavenly essence pill that was not much smaller than in his memory, Yang Chun was stunned for a while. After the shock, there was another kind of indescribable feeling. No wonder there was always someone better. Although Yang Chun knew that Big Brother Li Cheng had some very brilliant methods, when Big Brother Li Cheng gave Yang Chun such a shock on the path of alchemy, Yang Chun could not help but reevaluate himself. Have I become too complacent over the past few years? Because Yang Chun created the virtuous golden body art and cultivated it all the way to his current realm, he was very proud. Furthermore, he did not show any weakness when facing Ao Lan, a great expert of the dragon race, and even succeeded time after time. This made Yang Chun somewhat arrogant. Now that Xiao Chun saw the heavenly essence pill that Big Brother Li Cheng gave to Lady Fanghua and the others, he became alert. At any time, pride was the greatest enemy of doing anything, not to mention cultivation. Having confidence was a good thing. However, too much confidence turned into blind confidence. That would be a disaster. Yang Chun was very glad that he saw this Tianyuan pill when he was not aware that he was already arrogant and complacent. All the things that made Yang Chun self-inflated were all thrown out of the sky by him. Xiao Chun was still far from being a true expert. He was not someone who could be arrogant just because he had some small accomplishments. Fortunately, Xiao Chun recognized this now. He still had time to maintain a calm state of mind and not do anything irreversible. Perhaps it was time to seek Big Brother Li Cheng's advice. Chapter 1975. Yang Chen's vigilance did not last long. Zhou Xianing woke up from her closed-door cultivation, with the marrow accumulation pill nourishing her body. Even though Zhou Xianing had not moved for more than 10 years, she did not feel numb or have difficulty moving after waking up. On the contrary, Zhou Xianing was very spirited after her closed-door cultivation. Husband. Yang Chun was the first to sense that Zhou Xianing had come out of closed-door cultivation. When Zhou Xianing opened her eyes, before she could stand up, a familiar hand helped her up. Zhou Xianing immediately revealed a sweet smile and called out to Yang Chun intimately. If those people who were familiar with Granny Tianqin's style of doing things saw this scene, their eyeballs would probably pop out of their sockets. Is this still that ruthless Granny Tianqin who kills people at the drop of a hat? Of course, this was also what Yang Chun was most proud of. Even Granny Tianqin behaved like a good wife and loving mother in front of him. This gave him a much greater sense of accomplishment than killing a profound, immortal demonic beast. Zhou Xianing had gained a lot from this closed-door cultivation. Not to mention anything else. Just her cultivation had risen by 2 minor realms, directly reaching the rank 4 heavenly immortal realm. How difficult was it to jump 2 minor realms from the heavenly immortal realm in a short 10 years? Fortunately, Xiao Chun had accumulated enough in the past. This time, she had gained some comprehension in the area of music. Naturally, success came naturally. Xiao Chen's miraculous comprehension was all thanks to Yang Chen's pointers when the sect masters were splitting the spoils. Zhou Xianing did not care if she was the oldest or if she was much older than her husband. She burrowed into Yang Chen's embrace and expressed her gratitude affectionately. After that, she bathed and changed her clothes with the help of a few maidservants. Not long after Zhou Xianing came out of closed-door cultivation, Ao Lan, the super expert, also woke up. Of course, after Ao Lan woke up, she did not serve him as attentively as Yang Chun. They were not that close yet. The moment Ao Lan woke up, she broke out in a cold sweat before she could check her changes carefully. One had to know that she had suddenly entered a state of seclusion in Yang Chen's territory. Furthermore, she had unsuspectingly consumed the pill that Yang Chun had given her. If Yang Chun had any other thoughts, he might have eaten Ao Lan up already, leaving not even scraps behind. When did his vigilance become so poor? Could it be that Ao Lan is so at ease with Yang Chun because Ao lies by his side? Even Ao Lan found this reason funny. If Yang Chun wanted to do something, Ao Lai would not say whether he would stop him. Whether he could stop him or not was another matter. Don't look at how Ao Lan sometimes disdained Yang Chun, this kind of human immortal junior, but in her heart, there was no trace of unspeakable fear. However, In what state of mind was she so unguarded against Yang Chun? Not only did he not look at Yang Chen's pill, but he also entered closed-door cultivation right under Yang Chen's nose. Such confidence was not like A.O. Lan's usual character at all. A.O. Lan was not someone who deceived others and herself, much less comforted herself. Those who thought that she was helpless against a human immortal junior like Yang Chun, a golden immortal, were even more of a joke. Not to mention anything else. Just that fellow playing with all sorts of toys in the Dragon Palace was enough to make A.O. Lan tremble in fear. Once they made a move, who knew what the consequences would be? Perhaps in A.O. Lan's subconscious, she did not treat Yang Chun as an enemy. At the very least, when she saw Xiao Tian carrying the Dragon Pagoda, she was envious but did not have any other thoughts. Even the other dragon race magic treasures on Yang Chun were the same. Since Yang Chun could obtain all these, he should not be an enemy of the dragon race. After realizing this, A.O. Lan relaxed like she was relieved of a heavy burden. Only now did A.O. Lan start to pay attention to the effects of her closed-door cultivation. If A.O. Lan had not seen it, she would not have known. The moment she saw it, she was startled. Even she had not expected that the effects of her closed-door cultivation would be so obvious. It even made her feel like she was dreaming. A.O. Lan did not know how many years it had been since she had a dream. However, this dream felt so real. To think that there was a cultivator in the spiritual realm who could cultivate to peak golden immortal, just one step shy of becoming a perfected golden immortal. Many golden immortal experts in the immortal realm could not enter this realm. However, A.O. Lan did it in the spiritual realm. A.O. Lan was able to achieve this because of the inspiration from Yang Chen's words, which led to her breakthrough. A.O. Lan thought about how many incredible things Yang Chun had done since she got to know him. A.O. Lan felt that it was not ridiculous for her to run into such a good opportunity. Congratulations, senior. Yang Chun already cupped his fist and congratulated A.O. Lan. A.O. Lan's great improvement in cultivation was indeed something worth congratulating. That dragon race expert from the Zhao clan would probably have a headache. Don't call me senior. A.O. Lan could not help retorting. Don't you find it uncomfortable to call me senior? I feel that you are making me sound old. Big sister A.O. When it came to climbing up the ladder, Yang Chun was definitely an expert, an outstanding talent among outstanding talents. The moment A.O. Lan complained, Yang Chun immediately changed the way he addressed A.O. Lan. A.O. Lan was already aware of the trust and closeness she had for Yang Chun. She was very satisfied with him addressing her as big sister. Only then did it make them appear close. A.O. Lan gave a firm answer before returning the greeting, little brother Yang. Congratulations, big sister. A.O. Lai also came over to congratulate A.O. Lan. After that, the other women all congratulated A.O. Lan. Of course, since Yang Chun already addressed A.O. Lan as big sister A.O., and A.O. Lan acknowledged it. Even addressing Yang Chun as little brother, Yang Chen's women naturally followed Yang Chen's lead and addressed A.O. Lan as big sister A.O. Actually, when Yang Chun addressed A.O. Lan as big sister A.O. for the first time, all the women knew that their husband had gained another great backer in the spiritual realm. This expert was the strongest expert they had ever seen. He was even stronger than the primal chaos world, Lin Junyuan. In the future, as long as their husband did not do anything that angered the heavens and the people, he would basically be able to do whatever he wanted in the spiritual realm. This was a joyous matter. It was good news for everyone. At the very least, with this address of siblings, it would be easier for them to ask for advice on certain matters. For example, how to refine the dragon race's magic treasures. Of course, everyone knew what to do. No one would speak at this moment. When their relationship became even more intimate, perhaps A.O. Lan would take the initiative to bring it up. Husband, we have already been here for quite some time. Aling is almost done collecting that cave. What should we do next? Gao Yu represented everyone and asked the question that everyone was concerned about. This time, it is the core sect of the Tri-River Alliance. Let's go somewhere else to try our luck. Yang Chen chuckled and said, who knows, we might run into the people of the Scarlet Blood sect or the 10,000 Fiend sect. Chapter 1976. The reason why Gao Yu asked this question so quickly was to divert everyone's attention. In the end, she did not know whether to laugh or cry at Yang Chen's answer. Aolan was an old monster who had lived in the spiritual realm for tens of thousands of years. Such a strong expert had spoken politely, and Yang Chen actually followed her wishes and called her big sister. This was not respectful at all. No matter what, Aolan's seniority surpassed that of all the cultivators in the spiritual realm. For a human immortal junior to call her big sister, she did not pay attention and even agreed. Aolan had just woken up from closed-door cultivation and was probably not very clear-headed. Once he came to his senses, he might turn hostile. Even if he couldn't go back on his words because of what he had said, he might have resentment towards Yang Chen in his heart. With such an expert with a grudge by their side, it was an incomparably horrifying matter, no matter how they thought about it. Thus, Gao Yu, who valued Yang Chen more than herself, could only use this stupid method to divert attention. Of course, there was another reason. After all, Aolan and Ao Lai could not keep following Yang Chen's family around, right? This question was also a way of asking them to leave. However, Gao Yu did not expect Yang Chen to reply like this. This was truly unexpected. Being able to coincidentally run into the people of the Three River Alliance in the spirit vein was already considered lucky. Could it be that the experts of the Scarlet Blood sect and the 10,000 Fiend sect are fools? Or are they controlled by Hubby and will definitely appear at the place that Hubby points out? The moment Yang Chen said this, everyone's eyes lit up. Among them, the most spirited was Gong Sunling. The core sect of the Three River Alliance had nearly solidified the world in the Mountain River geographical map. Furthermore, this was under the situation where it had not been completely refined. If she obtained the core sects of the Scarlet Blood sect and the 10,000 Fiend sect, Gong Sunling did not dare to imagine what the Mountain River geographical map would become. There is such a good thing. Before Gao, you could say anything. Aolan had already interrupted, saying, "Little brother, quickly bring us over to take a look. I also want to know what the Mountain River geographical map will become if we follow your method. I also want to know to what extent a Ling's cultivation will grow if she refines 2 more big caves." When Aolan addressed Yang Chen as little brother, she did not force it at all. She said it naturally and smoothly. It seemed like she was not dissatisfied with how Yang Chen addressed her. Instead, she quickly got into her role. Seeing this, Gao Yu was also slightly relieved. It seemed that things were not as bad as she thought. Hearing Aolan's words, everyone looked at Gong Sunling in shock. It would have been fine if he hadn't seen it, but the moment he did, he was shocked. During these 10 years, not only did Zhou Xianing's and Aolan's cultivations increase, but even a master of the Mountain River geographical map, Gong Sunling's cultivation had improved greatly. Initially, he was only a grade 5 human immortal, but without anyone noticing, he had directly leaped to the peak of human immortal, almost stepping into the earth immortal realm. Initially, Tao Junkie's cultivation level was the highest among the worldly immortals, but now it had become Gong Sunling. Yang Chen was both startled and delighted. He even felt a little guilty. While he was in closed-door cultivation, he did not pay attention to the people around him. This was not right. This is a sudden change that occurred after I finished the initial refinement of the cave. I did not mean to hide it from husband. Everyone looked at Gong Sunling. Gong Sunling also appeared somewhat embarrassed. When she saw that Yang Chen did not seem to know anything, she could not help explaining, "I do not know if it is good or bad to increase one's cultivation like this. What is bad or bad about it?" Before Yang Chen could say anything, Aolan already said tyrannically, "What do you think the magic treasure of my dragon race is? Could it be that the qualitative change in the Mountain River geographical map still does not allow the master's cultivation to increase? What do you take my dragon race's magic treasure for?" However, didn't husband keep saying that the foundation must be good? Before Gong Sunling said anything, Sun Qingxue had already jumped out and countered Aolan with a question. There is nothing wrong with progressing steadily, right? When Aolan saw Sun Qingxue defending Yang Chen like this, he could not help but tease her. Progressing steadily is not wrong. However, no one said that raising one's cultivation quickly is wrong. Sister Ling's cultivation base has increased so quickly, and it's not like Sister Fenghua's cultivation method. There will always be some flaws, right? Sun Qingxue was very dissatisfied and quickly asked, "It's always good to have a solid foundation. You said it yourself. That is laying the foundation." Aolan's dragon face revealed a smile that everyone could understand, like he was teasing a child. He asked jokingly, "Are you all still laying the foundation now?" Aolan's words stunned everyone, including Yang Chun. Indeed, they had already ascended from the mortal realm to the spiritual realm. They were no longer laying the foundation in the past. However, the cultivation method of the Taoist sects had always been like this, advancing steadily and steadily. Everyone kept feeling that something was wrong. Relying on little brother's medicinal pills to forcefully raise one's cultivation is not a good method. Aolan turned serious, no longer teasing Sun Qingxue. He said carefully, "However, the increase in the quality of the life magic treasure will increase the master's cultivation as well. There are many benefits and no drawbacks. Why worry?" After saying that, Aolan turned to Gao Yu, the Murong sisters, and the others whose life magic treasures were dragon race magic treasures. He said seriously, "It is the same for the few of you. Quickly find a method suitable for you human cultivators to raise your life magic treasures. It will be much more useful than blindly studying cultivation techniques." Gao Yu and the Murong sisters knew that this was priceless advice. They bowed and thanked Aolan in unison. Aolan waved his hand and said, "In any case, you are little brother's wives and concubines, not outsiders. However, I cannot say more than that. Comprehend it yourself." Based on Aolan's appearance, it seemed like there were some taboos about the dragon race's magic treasures that Aolan could not say. However, everyone was already very satisfied. For Aolan to say this much, she was already given a lot of face. It looked like she was very satisfied with Yang Chun, her new little brother. When she gave pointers, she did not ask for conditions or benefits like she did in the past. Yang Chun was very grateful as well. No matter what, he had learned more. This made Yang Chun even more determined to find big brother Li Cheng to seek guidance. However, before Xiao Chun went to look for big brother Li Cheng, he had to deal with the Scarlet Blood sect and the 10,000 Fiends sect first. Otherwise, he would waste time and miss the opportunity to be taken in by the Zhao clan. Just like how he dealt with the Three River Alliance, Yang Chun used the same method as when he was dealing with the Three River Alliance. First, he found a spirit vein that the Scarlet Blood sect found later. However, he discovered that the two spirit veins did not show any signs of being touched. It was only until the third spirit vein that he discovered a concealment formation similar to the one the Three River Alliance used. The effect of the formation was the same, but the method was different. Gong Sunling even studied it in passing. This time, Yang Chun and the others did not have to wait for long. In less than 2 months after they discovered the spirit vein, there were experts who rushed into the spirit vein. Then, like the profound Immortal expert from the Three River Alliance, they started to control the 2 cave magic treasures to absorb spiritual energy. Chapter 1977. Unlike Three River Alliance, this expert from Holocaust sect controlled 2 cave mansions. It was unknown whether the level of the cave mansions was lower than Three River Alliance, or because the foundation was deeper than Three River Alliance. Yang Chun guessed the latter. After all, Holocaust sect was a strict organization with strict seniority, while Three River Alliance was just a rogue cultivator alliance. Their cohesiveness were incomparable. Big sister Aolan still took the initiative this time. A mere Immortal expert was nothing before Aolan advanced. Now that she was a peak golden immortal, it was even easier. The 2 cave mansions immediately entered the Mountain River geographical map after passing through Xiao Tian's mouth. Of course, the corpse of a Immortal master was also quickly refined into a celestial immortal grade spirit vein in the Mountain River geographical map. Three River Alliance's cave mansions were not completely refined yet. There was only one last step left. It must be said that this kind of cave mansions that could accommodate hundreds of thousands of spiritual realm cultivators and allow them to cultivate normally was very powerful. If it wasn't for Gong Sunling's 100,000 Heaven Immortal and Earth Immortal experts, she wouldn't have been able to refine it to this extent in just 10 years. In order to speed up the refining process, she needed to increase the number of experts. Therefore, this batch of disciples from Holocaust sect became Gong Sunling's target. Gong Sunling took a completely different approach to Holocaust sect's cave mansions than Three River Alliances. Before refining the Three River Alliance's cave mansions, Gong Sunling's mountain river geographical map was not stable enough. A few Xian Immortal experts or hundreds of Heaven Immortal experts could easily break through. If there were enough Earth Immortal experts, it wasn't impossible to break through. Therefore, she carefully separated those experts and tried to make them think that this was the real world. With their own strength, she was able to refine thousands of Xian Immortal beasts' corpses and half of Three River Alliance's cave mansions. Now, the mountain river geographical map was stable enough that even hundreds of Xian Immortal experts might not be able to break through. Moreover, there are many spiritual veins. Those cultivators all gathered together to enjoy the abundant spiritual veins. Who would think of anything else? They were gradually lost in the mountain river geographical map and unconsciously became Gong Sunling slaves. No matter how powerful the experts from the Holocaust sect were, it was impossible for them to play any tricks on the mountain river geographical map that had been stabilized by the 100,000 experts from the Three River Alliance. Moreover, Gong Sunling only said that she took the initiative to provoke the two caves of the Holocaust sect so that the experts inside would come out on their own. As for how to deal with them after they came out, it was still the same method. Although the mountain river geographical map was stable, he had yet to completely refine the Three River Alliance's cave abode. It was not advisable to create new problems and cause failure at the last moment. Just as Gong Sunling had expected, hundreds of experts rushed out from the two caves of the Holocaust sect at the first instance. It seemed that they had been in a state of anxiety recently, fearing that the major sect would come knocking on their door. On one hand, the higher-ups had to unify their thinking and suppress those troublemakers who could not accept this fact. On the other hand, they had to win over the disciples under them. On the outside, they had to be on guard against the enemy's encirclement. These experts who rushed out at the first instance were the emergency troops of the Holocaust sect. Unfortunately, when they came out, they realized that they were in an unfamiliar place. There were at most dozens of their companions around them, and there was a rather good spiritual vein not far away. This strange environment made them puzzled. Another important discovery was that they couldn't find the cave abode that they came out from. This was a big matter. The few of them immediately gathered together with the one with the highest cultivation level as the leader. Everyone carefully explored the surroundings and confirmed that this place was safe. Finally, after not knowing what had happened, everyone unanimously decided to cultivate with the help of the spiritual vein. It was more important to increase their cultivation level so that they wouldn't panic no matter what happened. Something must have happened in the cave abode of the sect. It was definitely a strong enemy, otherwise it wouldn't be like this. They didn't know what exactly happened, but since they were already here, they should take things as they came. The most important thing was to settle the few of them who were still alive. Right next to the spiritual vein, everyone started to take turns to guard and cultivate. These hundreds of people were either Xian Immortals or Heaven Immortals. Their cultivation level was very high. Once they joined the cultivation team, Gong Sunling could obviously feel that the refining speed had increased. Unfortunately, the number of people was still too little. Although their cultivation level was high, they were facing more than 100,000 Heaven Immortals and Earth Immortals. Their addition only sped up a little. More cultivators were needed. Gong Sunling seemed to be addicted to it. After settling this group of people, she immediately started to stimulate the two cave abodes to wait for more cultivators to come out. Why so troublesome? When Yang Chun heard Gong Sunling telling him about the situation in the mountain river geographical map, he couldn't help but smile bitterly. As long as you put your own divine sense imprint on the cave abode, you can control the cultivators inside to enter and exit. The cave abodes of the sect were controlled by the core higher-ups. Who could enter and who could leave was controlled by the controller. It was impossible for a disciple to easily enter and exit the core cave abode of the sect. This should be common sense, because Gong Sunling was worried that too many masters would come out and break the mountain river geographical map. She had been very careful to control the number of people. It was not until a few months ago that it really stabilized. She had never considered the key in this. Now that Yangchen reminded her, she suddenly realized that she had done a stupid thing. She couldn't help but waved her small fist and hit Yangchen's chest before stopping. She blamed him for not reminding her earlier, causing her to waste so much time. You can't say that what you did before was wrong. Yangchen smiled and endured Gong Sunling's fist. He held Gong Sunling in his arms. At the beginning, I can't release too many masters. Safety is the first priority. Fortunately, you didn't pay attention. If I released them all at once, there might be a big problem. Gong Sunling finally accepted Yang Chen's explanation. After staying in Yang Chen's arms for a while, she immediately began to control the Three River Alliance's cave abode according to Yang Chen's instructions. The Three River Alliance's cave abode was almost refined, not to mention the divine sense imprint. It was under Gong Sunling's command. In an instant, hundreds of thousands of human immortal disciples in the cave abode were released and scattered to the various spiritual veins. Gong Sunling also had an extra thought. She sent these people to the original Three River Alliance's Heaven Immortal Masters, so that everyone could report their names and take care of each other. These new guys would involuntarily follow the seniors who have been wandering outside for 10 years to cultivate together. Hundreds of thousands of human immortal disciples poured in. This was a large number of fresh troops. The speed of refining the cave abode directly increased by 2 times. Gong Sunling still felt a little anxious. Under the strong request of Yang Chun, after careful calculation, she controlled the 2 cave abode of Holocaust sect and released hundreds of thousands of human immortal disciples. However, she didn't dare to release all of them. Chapter 1978. At this time, the number of human immortal stage cultivators in the entire mountain river geographical map was close to 1 million. The refining speed had soared again, and Gong Sunling was very satisfied. However, this was not the final arrangement. Under the suggestion of Yang Chun, the various medicine garden magic weapons of the Three River Alliance and the Holocaust sect in the 3 core caves were all taken out by Gong Sunling. These were the treasures of the 2 sect. They did not belong to any single disciple. They were usually hidden in the secret room of the sect. This time, it was a bargain for Gong Sunling. These medicine gardens were all small-scale cave magic weapons, but it was much easier to refine them than the large-scale cave of the Three River Alliance's core cave. A medicine garden with a radius of 100 miles was collectively refined by these millions of cultivators in 2 days and nights. It was integrated into the mountain river geographical map and became a piece of the ground. With each small medicine garden being refined, the mountain river geographical map became more and more stable. The world inside became more and more real, and it inevitably brought the power of the mountain river geographical map to greater heights. This was not only reflected in the battle to confuse and collect stronger enemies, but also had a sharp bonus effect when refining the internal space. Gong Sunling almost gave up refining the Three River Alliance's cave and concentrated on refining these small medicine gardens. It was said to be a small medicine garden, but it was also relative to the core cave of the Three River Alliance that had a radius of hundreds of thousands of miles. The medicine garden with a radius of 100 miles was indeed not big, but it was a large number. The Three River Alliance had collected no less than hundreds of them. All kinds of rare medicinal materials cultivated in them were all taken by Gong Sunling. Naturally, taking advantage of Gong Sunling meant taking advantage of Yangchen. When the first medicine garden was refined, Hena Mengyu took Yangchen's pure bottle medicine garden into the mountain river geographical map of the master's wife. She went to the refining space of the medicine garden to see what good things were while plundering the pure bottle medicine garden. Those that were less than 10,000 years old were all crops. Whether it was Hana Mengyu, a Zhu, or a Bai, they would not look at it. Hannah Mengyu was worthy of being an expert in plant affinity. After eating Yang Chen's merit body refining pill, the acquired wood attribute was full, and that kind of affinity became stronger. How long has it been since he ascended? He has already promoted 2 small realms by relying on the contact with a Zhu and a Bai in the medicine garden. Compared with Mu Bai and Yi Yu, who were outside killing monsters for the trial, he was not worse. After Ah Ling refines the Three River Alliance's cave mansion, we'll also go in and see what the Three River Alliance's core mountain gate looks like. Gao Yu also teased, but her words also moved everyone's heart. One should know that the Three River Alliance was one of the super sects in the spiritual realm. Inside the core cave, aside from all kinds of spirit veins and resources, there are also all kinds of inheritance that the Three River Alliance had accumulated over the years. To any cultivator, these were rare treasures, so who wouldn't be tempted? Unfortunately, if there is a heavenly tribulation in the spiritual realm, there are billions of aborigines here. Even if there are very few who have reached the human immortal realm, there will be millions of them. Millions of people refining together will definitely refine faster. Gong Sunling also felt it was a pity that she couldn't use such a good resource. Anyone would feel this way. Gong Sunling's words seemed to have reminded Gao Yu and Yang Chun. Gao Yu immediately turned to Yang Chun and asked a little uncertainly, "Husband, Fatty Jing, did Senior Jing say that he left the heavenly tribulation room to you?" When Gao Yu mentioned it, the women seemed to remember it. It seemed that there was such a thing. How could he be willing? Yang Chun pursed his lips and said slowly, "But I have already asked him for it. If he doesn't give it, I will snatch it." He didn't object. The lightning tribulation room was too important to Chunyang Palace. It could increase many new disciples for Chunyang Palace in the spiritual realm. In his previous life, it was occupied by Xiantian's sect. In this life, it belonged to Chunyang Palace, but Yang Chun didn't want Fatty Jing to take the entire conch underwater mansion with him when he ascended. However, Gong Sunling's words made Yang Chun suddenly have an idea. Since the ultimate goal of the Mountain River geographical map was to become another world, then this world was also divided into the mortal realm and the spiritual realm. In the future, there would be the immortal realm, and then there would be their own heavenly tribulation. Finally, they would ascend to the immortal realm. Just thinking about it made people excited. This was directly controlling a world. It was not too much to say that he was the creator. At that time, Yang Chen didn't even dare to imagine how glorious the future would be. What was the difference between the master of a world and the master of the heavenly court? It might even be greater. Not all the cultivators under the jurisdiction of the heavenly court listened to the heavenly court. Furthermore, the creatures in the Mountain River geographical map that Gong Sunling created were all submissive to Gong Sunling. Perhaps this was the original intention of the dragon race when they created this magic treasure. They wanted to create a world with the dragon race as the creator, and all the creatures there would worship the dragon race. However, for some reason, after creating the Mountain River geographical map, they didn't continue. Instead, they hid it in the treasury. Xiaochen wanted to ask Big Sister Ao Lan, but it was obvious that they wanted her to reveal the secrets of the dragon race. From their previous interactions, Ao Lan cared a lot about this. It was better not to speak, lest both sides felt awkward. Whether the Mountain River geographical map could successfully merge with the Heavenly Tribulation Room or not required further analysis. Yang Chan didn't dare to guarantee success. Before he was sure, he shouldn't make a move, lest he damaged the Heavenly Tribulation Room, a treasure of heaven and earth, which was not worth the loss. However, the idea of merging the Heavenly Tribulation Room was deeply rooted in Yang Chen's mind. If there was a chance, he would discuss it with Big Brotherly Chung. Presumably, he could find a better way. Moreover, merging the core mountain gate and cave residences of several sects was just the first step in Yang Chen's plan. The ultimate goal, Yang Chun wanted Gong Sunling to merge with the world at the exit of the demon beast space, which was the real big guy. If this plan was really feasible, Yang Chun even wanted to let the mountain river geographical map swallow the core of the demon continent and the world at the other end of the demon continent collected in the mortal world. Presumably, after adding these two big worlds, the mountain river geographical map could really transform into a new world. As for Yang Chun himself, as long as he had the entrance to the immortal beheading platform, the immortal beheading saber would be invincible. There was no need to use other space nodes to increase its power. The idea of merging with the world was too incredible. Not to mention that Yang Chun only had this idea. As for how to carry it out, it still needed further research. At this time, Big Brother Li Chang might be able to give him a better suggestion, or the two sides could discuss a good and feasible method. It seemed that there were too many problems to discuss with Big Brother Li Chang, so Yang Chun was not surprised. This mysterious Big Brother had never been stumped by anything. If it really didn't work, he could ask Big Brother Li Chang if he could help Gong Sunling with the Merit chapter. Chapter 1979. The core cave house of the Holocaust sect was in hand. It was not the time to go back and find Brother Li Chang. It was still the same reason. There was still the 1,000 demon sect outside. The Zhao family would definitely find a way to settle it in the shortest time. Three River Alliance, Holocaust sect, and 1,000 demon sect. These three sects were super sects with hundreds of thousands of disciples. The Zhao family would never give up easily. If they didn't grab the Zhao family at this time, there would be no such good opportunity in the future. So after getting the two cave houses of the Holocaust sect, they didn't care about refining it immediately. Even Gao Yu began to urge Yang Chun to find the spiritual vein of the 1,000 demon sect immediately. The girls were not surprised that their husband could know so many hidden spiritual veins. From the beginning of the mortal world, Yang Chun had shown many unusual things. What made the girls admire the most was the ability to find treasures of heaven and earth by relying on the clues recorded in a large number of ancient books. It was simply incredible. Finding a few spiritual veins was not a big deal. Moreover, everyone knew the price of Yang Chen's elixir in the spiritual realm. They believed that as long as Yang Chen was willing, he could exchange the elixir for any information, including this kind of secret for the super sect. No matter how big the sect was, there would be a few guys who were willing to sell the sect's information in exchange for their own interests. Everyone was obedient and didn't ask about this kind of thing. Even if they asked, they knew that Yang Chen would definitely not say it. Strictly speaking, this was a business between her husband and these people. It was just a business that couldn't see the light of day. Whether it was for the sake of credibility or he didn't want them to worry, Yang Chun would certainly not tell them the details. In the past, Yang Chun asked Gao Yu and the others that he knew a lot of secrets. Weren't they interested? This was the answer Gao Yu gave. This conventional understanding saved Yang Chun a lot of effort to explain. At least he wouldn't let everyone understand that he had an extra life's memory. When he got the cave house of the Three River Alliance, he was afraid of the masters inside, so he accelerated the refining and stabilized the world of the Mountain River geographical map. Now that he didn't have to worry about this problem, it would be best to deal with the 10,000 demon sect's immortal cave as soon as possible. After all, everything had to be done in order to be safe. No matter how good the plan was, it couldn't hold up against unforeseen events. Under everyone's urging, Yang Chun had no choice but to get up again. He steered the mysterious sky nether sea shuttle toward another secret place at high speed. The reason why it was said to be stealthy was that the mysterious sky nether sea shuttle had never emerged from the ground. It had been stealthily traveling underground. Yang Chen knew that the future spirit veins of the 10,000 demon sect were all in places that were still occupied by demonic beast hordes. If he casually showed himself, he would attract a lot of trouble. Although they had an expert like A.O. Lan by their side, dealing with a large number of profound, immortal demonic beasts would definitely cause a commotion. It would not be good if they scared off the 10,000 demon sect's people. It was better to keep a low profile and silently make a fortune. Because all the major sect's forces were focused on eliminating the Three River Alliance, the Holocaust sect, and the 1,000 Beast sect, most of the top experts were tied up in this matter. Therefore, the progress of recovering the lost land was slowed down. More accurately speaking, It had almost come to a standstill. Without a top expert to deal with those profound, immortal demonic beasts, ordinary cultivators could only go to the areas where the profound, immortal demonic beasts had already been cleared and kill some low-grade demonic beasts to train. They did not dare to casually enter the territories that had not been recovered. Now that the relationship between Yang Chun and A.O. Lan was different, A.O. Lan's attitude toward Yang Chun was also different. A.O. Lan even took the initiative to help with matters like merging the Dragon Palace and the mysterious Sky Dark Sea Shuttle. She was no longer like before, where she had to negotiate the conditions first. Of course, Yang Chen's family did not hesitate to return a plum for a peach. All the girls used all their tricks, serving A.O. Lan, this senior, very well. Everything she ate, drank, and wore were all exquisite, handmade by the girls themselves. Even in daily life, when Feng Hua commanded the group of maidservants, she treated A.O. Lan like an empress and served her. Even A.O. Lai, who was brought along, was extremely satisfied. There was no need to mention A.O. Lan. Fortunately, there was a similar concealment array above the spirit vein that Yang Chun rushed to. This meant that the cultivators of the 10,000 demon sect had already discovered this place. All they had to do was to wait for the rabbit. However, something that they thought was foolproof still went wrong, and it was beyond everyone's expectations. The reason was because of the word demon. The 10,000 demon sect was a sect of the demon race. Almost all the disciples were from the demon race. When facing those crazy demonic beasts, their identity as a member of the demon race gave them an advantage. Compared to human cultivators, it was easier for those demonic beasts to recognize them. Don't underestimate this little bit of recognition. Sometimes, it meant the difference between life and death. The demonic beasts would not attack the moment they met. They would even allow the demon race cultivators to get close. To the cultivators, this was an advantage that they had over human cultivators. Even if they were to get closer and launch a sneak attack, they would have more chances of killing than humans. Among them, there were many talented demon race cultivators who could even blend into the group of demonic beasts. This made the demonic beasts not see them as enemies. This was even more terrifying. Needless to say, everyone knew the benefits. Among this group of monster race cultivators, there is a group of even more outstanding fellows who possessed a talent that would make others jealous to death. That was the ability to communicate with these berserk monster beasts and even command them in a simple manner. These outstanding and lucky fellows were very few in number. Maybe there would be one or two among the hundreds of millions of demon race cultivators. The rarer something is, the more valuable it is. Otherwise, the demonic beasts would have been dispersed by a large number of these demon race cultivators. It was very unfortunate for Yang Chun and the others, but it was very fortunate for the 1,000 demon sect that they had such an extremely lucky disciple in their sect. Moreover, he was an expert at the peak of the Sky Immortal stage. He was only one step away from the Xian Immortal stage. At least a quarter of the 10,000 demon sect territory was conquered by this special heaven immortal disciple. Such a talented disciple was naturally the sect's treasure. During the Battle of the Three River Alliance, the 10,000 demon sect didn't send this disciple, who was only at the peak heaven immortal level, to fight because of the Zhao family's arrangements. They only let him stay in the sect. It was also fortunate that this was the case. Otherwise, if he gathered tens of thousands of Xian immortal-level demonic beasts on the battlefield and formed an army, even with the help of the dragon puppet, it would be hard to say who would win. One move, and they lost everything. In the end, the 10,000 demon sect lost the battle. They had no choice but to bring the old and young of the sect to hide in the core of the sect. But with such an expert, in a place where demonic beasts ran rampant, he was naturally the one to control the sect's cave. Chapter 1980. This 10,000 demon sect, celestial immortal expert, was responsible for the sect. Even with his celestial immortal cultivation, he could not guarantee his safety. Hence, there were dozens of demonic beasts above grade 5 profound immortal around him at all times. Yangchen and the others originally thought that a profound immortal demonic beast would arrive with a cave abode. They did not expect dozens of profound immortal demonic beasts to charge down instantly. That 10,000 demon sect fellow was hidden among them. He could even imitate his cultivation. No one could tell for a moment. This fellow was really skilled at hiding himself. Even the peak golden immortal Ao Lan could not tell who the person was. However, she was skilled and bold. She immediately released her spiritual sense to check and instantly found the target. Originally, with Ao Lan's cultivation and her background, such a spiritual sense should not be discovered by the target. However, the other party was a freak. This fellow was only a peak heaven immortal. Although he did not look like much, his sensitivity was top-notch. He was very talented. He was able to discover Ao Lan's dragon race spiritual sense immediately and even pinpoint Ao Lan's location. The most shocking thing was that this fellow could even vaguely sense that Ao Lan's cultivation was already at the golden immortal realm. Instantly, the dozens of profound, immortal demonic beasts exploded like a hornet's nest was poked. They all charged in the direction Ao Lan was hiding. As for that 10,000 demon sect celestial immortal expert, he fled the spirit vein in the opposite direction. Of course, as he fled, he did not forget to put away the cave abode he just took out. Actually, Ao Lan just had to wait a little longer. That fellow would not have thought that there was a cultivator in the spirit vein. Naturally, he would have taken out the cave abode to absorb spiritual energy. At that time, it would be clear who the person was. Who would have expected Ao Lan to be so anxious? In the end, she exposed herself. Seeing that the target she was responsible for was about to escape, Ao Lan could no longer maintain her composure. She roared and twisted her dragon body. She opened her dragon claws and casually grabbed 2 demonic beasts in front of her and tossed them away. Her huge dragon body knocked away 5 or 6 demonic beasts in her way and charged out. Unexpectedly, the moment that guy from the Myriad Demon sect rushed out of the ground, he immediately released hundreds of Xian immortal-level demonic beasts. These demonic beasts that suddenly appeared were actually like an organized army. They worked together and launched ferocious attacks in the direction that Ao Lan was about to charge out from. Ao Lan had just peeked out when hundreds of profound, immortal demonic beasts attacked him together. Even though she was already a peak golden immortal, she was still knocked back into the spirit vein when she was caught off guard by such a level of attack. Fortunately, Ao Lan's cultivation was strong enough. A tool of this level did not injure him at all. Even though Big Sister Ao Lan was not injured, she had already lost a great deal of face after being knocked back. Ever since Ao Lan got to know Yang Chun, she had never seen Ao Lan suffer such grievances. All the experts from the sect master to the sect master of the 5 elements sects intersect had been suppressed by Ao Lan to the point where they did not even dare to breathe. Today, they actually suffered such a great disadvantage before an insignificant heavenly immortal junior. If this could be tolerated, what could not? Ao Lan immediately became enraged. He opened his mouth and roared furiously, his voice shaking the surroundings. Nearly all the creatures within thousands of kilometers trembled in fear at this roar. Regular demonic beasts would definitely flee as far as they could when Ao Lan unleashed his might. However, this time, Ao Lan did not run into ordinary demonic beasts. Instead, there were demonic beasts that this fellow from the 10,000 Fiend sect had tamed. That fellow clearly knew that he was facing a golden immortal expert, but he only wanted to flee. He left behind these hundreds of demonic beasts to delay Ao Lan and buy time for himself. He had no intention of letting these demonic beasts live. It had to be said that this fellow was a decisive person. When he released so many demonic beasts at the start, he had already made up his mind. He had used some unknown method to drive all the demonic beasts absolutely crazy, making them even crazier than those demonic beasts in the demonic calamity. All they could think about was killing their targets and nothing else. As for Ao Lan himself, he immediately turned around and fled, not wasting any time. Even though the hundreds of crazed demonic beasts instinctively suppressed their races, they still maintained their crazed state after being startled by Aolan's dragon roar, charging at Aolan. Even though Aolan had already used her mouth, claws, and body to smash into the demonic beasts, instantly killing 6 or 7 demonic beasts, when hundreds of berserk, mindless demonic beasts swarmed over. How could she escape so easily? That was not all. That fellow was definitely a dependable fellow. He had subdued many demonic beasts in the past few years. Just as he fled a distance away, hundreds more demonic beasts appeared beside him, charging at the spirit vein with bloodshot eyes. To that fellow, as long as the demonic beast tide remained, he could have as many demonic beasts as he wanted. They were really just cannon fodder. The 2 groups of crazed demonic beasts were sufficient to keep Aolan here for a while. However, that fellow from the 10,000 Fiends sect casually summoned a flying sword that looked extremely fast and was about to ride it to escape. At this point, Yang Chun and the others' plan of sneak attacking Aolan was completely exposed. They could no longer get their way. What was even more serious was that there was a high chance that this fellow could escape. Even if he could not escape, once he realized that he could not escape, he would release all the 10,000 Fiends sect disciples in the cave. That would be a huge problem. Even if Aolan had the ability to slaughter hundreds of thousands of fiend race cultivators and snatch the cave, Yang Chen's operation this time would be a complete failure. Xiao Chen's original plan was to obtain both the cave and the cultivators. Losing hundreds of thousands of cultivators in one go would definitely make Gong Sunling's heart ache. Aolan was entangled. Be it Ao Lai or Zhou Xianying, they did not have the confidence to deal with Aolan in one move. Only Yang Chun had the ability to preserve the cave completely. Left without a choice, Yang Chun could only make a move. The immortal beheading saber instantly appeared. Then, driven by Xiao Chen's second primordial spirit, it flew out and chopped at the fleeing heavenly immortal fiend. This was the first time the immortal beheading saber left Yang Chen's hand after he merged his second primordial spirit into it. The moment the immortal beheading saber left Yang Chen's hand, Xiao Chen's second primordial spirit drove the blood river's killing intent to its limits. Similarly, this was the first time Xiao Chun unleashed all his killing intent in the spiritual realm. Back then, Yang Chun had only sealed the blood river's killing intent in his sea of consciousness. When he unleashed it, the entire world was shocked. However, that was an immortal realm where the cultivator's cultivations were very low. This time, Yang Chun did not have much hope. He only hoped that it could intimidate that heavenly immortal fiend and prevent him from escaping. However, Xiao Chun did not expect that when this killing intent was unleashed by Xiao Chen's second primordial spirit, its might would reach an unimaginable level. Chapter 1981. Within a radius of tens of thousands of miles, all the living beings that could feel it felt as though there was a thunderous roar in their ears. That feeling was very strange. There was no sound, but it was like a huge bell ringing in their heads. It was deafening. Almost at the same time, all the living beings felt a bone-chilling cold. This was not the cold outside, but the trembling in their hearts. No matter how high their cultivation was, no matter how talented they were, they could not stop the fear of their lives being frozen. Aolan, who was as strong as a peak golden immortal, was also stunned at this moment, her mind going blank. Even though she immediately broke free from that ice-cold, murderous intent, it was undeniable that she was indeed shocked at that moment. Even Aolan was startled. The demonic beasts, whose cultivations were much weaker than Aolan's, were simply like a bolt from the blue. No matter how crazy or irrational the demonic beasts were, in front of this crazy killing intent that could be felt from every inch of their bodies and bones, their instinctive fear was awakened. They stood rooted to the ground, maintaining their original posture, not daring to move at all. Hundreds of demonic beasts fell heavily to the ground in that ridiculous posture, causing an intense tremor. However, it did not affect anything. All the surrounding demonic beasts were the same. None of them were startled by this commotion. Furthermore, these were Xian immortal demonic beasts. Any lower would be even worse. Countless demonic beasts were so scared that they wet their pants. Their bodies went limp. How could there be any demonic beasts that went berserk? There were only demonic beasts that were terrified to the extreme. None of them could maintain their arrogance. The only place that was not affected was the Dragon Palace. Perhaps the cultivators in the 10,000 demon sect's cave abode would not be affected either. No matter how strong the immortal beheading saber's killing intent was, it was not strong enough to pierce through space. At that moment, the 10,000 demon sect's heaven immortal expert was no better than the other demonic beasts. Even if it was a normal deterrence, that level of killing intent was enough to subdue him. Furthermore, Yang Qin's immortal beheading saber was meant for him. For at least 3 breaths of time, the 10,000 demon sect's heaven immortal expert was unable to move. There was nothing in his mind. It was a complete blank. When he finally regained his ability to think, he was shocked to find that he was constantly rising. However, that was all he could think of. The only thing he could think of was that he finally understood that he had been beheaded. Yang Qin's figure arrived in the vicinity almost at the same time when the beheading immortal blade cut off the head of the master of the 1,000 demon sect. He reached out and grabbed the mountain gate cave that had not been completely recovered and stuffed it into the big mouth of Xiao Tian. Then he reached out again, and the immortal beheading blade fell into his hand and also entered Xiao Tian's big mouth. Gao Yu and others in the Dragon Palace were stunned to see all this, as if they knew their husband for the first time. The beautiful eyes of Lady Feng Hua and her nieces flashed. Such an awe-inspiring lover was the image in their minds of a ruthless killer with an iron heart. Immediately after, Gong Sunling suddenly reacted and rushed out of the Dragon Palace without saying anything. She opened up the Mountain River geographical map and quickly covered a radius of 10,000 miles. All the demonic beasts that were shocked by Yang Qin in this area were collected into the Mountain River geographical map. Although the demonic beasts did not have intelligence, they could barely be considered as half cultivators. The more Mountain River geographical map they collected, the more powerful they would be. Even if they remained crazy and could not wake up, Gong Sunling could still kill these demonic beasts and refine them into a medium-sized spirit vein. Unfortunately, the Xian immortal level demonic beasts still could not take the initiative to collect them. However, Gong Sunling did not feel that it was a pity. A.O. Lan, who had woken up, found that Yang Qin had already solved the biggest problem for her. She was a little angry out of humiliation. Nearly 1,000 Xian immortal demonic beasts had become the target of A.O. Lan's anger. Yang Qin had already withdrawn the beheading immortal blade and killing intent. Those demonic beasts also woke up very quickly. However, their waking up was only to return to their previous crazy state. Facing the raging A.O. Lan, they directly rushed up. Gong Sunling was practically smiling as she stood beside her husband. Then, she waited for the demonic beast corpse to fall and collect it. In less than 10 minutes, over 1,000 Xian immortal demonic beast corpses had entered the Mountain River geographical map. Xiao Tian also very tactfully offered up the Mountain Gate Cave of 10,000 demon sect. Gong Sunling quickly imprinted her own spiritual imprint on it. Then, she released all the human immortal level disciples of 10,000 demon sect from the Mountain River geographical map. The number of human immortal level disciples of 10,000 demon sect far exceeded that of 3 River Alliance and Holocaust sect. It was almost as many as the 2 sects combined. This time, the Mountain River geographical map had nearly 1 million new soldiers. The refining speed was as fast as lightning. In a short while, those crazy Xian immortal demonic beasts were all killed by A.O. Lan. A.O. Lan also woke up from her rage. Under Yang Qin's invitation, she once again returned to the Dragon Palace. What was that just now? A.O. Lan personally experienced that kind of terrifying killing intent. In that instant, the fear that came from the depths of her soul made A.O. Lan a little unable to see through this little brother that she had just recognized. She did not doubt that if Yang Qin really wanted to make a move, she might also die under the immortal beheading saber. What was the mystery behind Yang Qin's magic treasure? Aolan could not help but be afraid. Yang Chun had killed tens of thousands of Zenith Heaven Golden Immortals on the Immortal beheading platform. Later on, those big shots that he had killed were all people who surpassed the 10,000 Tribulation True Immortal, especially the 3 pure Taoist ancestors and the Jade Emperor and Queen Mother. Not to mention that Aolan was only a peak Golden Immortal, even if she had truly become a Zenith Heaven Golden Immortal. So what? When it was time to be afraid, one still had to be afraid. At first, Yang Chun was also frightened. However, he was not frightened by the killing intent, but by the power of the killing intent. Previously, when he released the killing intent, it did not seem to have such power. Why was it so terrifying this time? Now, Yang Chun finally understood a little. It should be that the one releasing the killing intent was different, so the power was different. Originally, Yang Chun released it directly from his sea of consciousness. Now, it was the Immortal Beheading Saber that released it. The two could not be mentioned in the same breath. No matter how powerful the killing intent released by a person was, there was a kind of active control. However, the Immortal Beheading Saber was different. It was a murderous weapon in itself. It had killed tens of millions of living beings. It was not an exaggeration to say that it was infamous. It was a murderous saber in itself. The perfect combination of the killing intent released by the murderous weapon almost expanded the killing intent of the Immortal Beheading Saber to the limit. Then, there was the second primordial spirit. However, the second primordial spirit had already become the weapon spirit of the Immortal Beheading Saber. A murderous weapon with spiritual intelligence could bring out the nature of a murderous weapon. It seemed like this step of his was simply a stroke of genius. Chapter 1982. This little brother's life, flying sword. Yang Chun still had to answer Aolan's question. As he thought about his own matters, Yang Chun casually spoke. What's with the killing intent? Aolan had never seen Yang Chun use the Immortal Slaying Saber at full power. In the past, she had only seen Yang Chun use the Immortal Slaying Saber to chop people or use that black hoop to smash people. She had never seen the Immortal Slaying Saber display its might. Something that could stun her, a peak Golden Immortal, for a moment was definitely not simple. This little brother was born an executioner in the mundane world. Yang Chun smiled as he replied, "This saber originally had a soaring scarlet flame. This little brother used it to kill tens of millions of underground spirit beasts. Then, it merged with at least 4 of the magic treasures of the demonic Tao's bloodthirsty senior. After that, it merged with this little brother's second primordial spirit as the item spirit. When the killing intent is released, ordinary cultivators would not even be able to handle half of it. Big sister, you are only stunned for a moment. This is already the strongest expert that this little brother has ever seen." The latter part of Xiao Chen's words were clearly praising Aolan, trying to make her feel better. The earlier parts were half-truths and half-lies, which could also be considered answers. Of course, they could not be said to be lies. They were just hiding things. If Aolan really knew a lot of things, then she would be able to make many connections based on the earlier part about Yang Chun being an executioner. This could be seen from the upper echelon of the profound Heaven Gate. They even guessed that Yang Chun was the executioner in charge of the Immortal Slaying platform. If Aolan could not guess it herself, Yang Chun would not have taken the initiative to reveal his origins. There were some things, especially his own background, that Xiao Chun could not let others know in too much detail. It looks like when you asked about slaying the dragon back then, you were not just asking. Aolan sighed as she recalled the question Yang Chun asked her in the past. With such a powerful killing weapon by his side, the matter of slaying the dragon was not a lie. Instead, Yang Chun really did have the strength to do so. Aolan had just finished sighing when she suddenly thought of a possibility. She goggled and asked, "You were born an executioner?" "Yes." Yang Chun nodded with a smile. Based on Aolan's reaction, she must have guessed something. "In that case, when you were in the mortal world, did you encounter any scarlet clouds in the sky?" Aolan asked anxiously as she stared at Yang Chun. "Yes." Yang Chun was still smiling as he replied with certainty. "Not only that, I also had a very long dream. See, This time, Aolan sucked in a breath of cold air. Although she did not see the merit ring, it was enough for her to know Yang Chen's true background. Naturally, the treasures that Yang Chen obtained had a source. They must have been given to Yang Chen by a Dragon King-level senior in the Heavenly Court. Otherwise, even she, a true descendant of the dragon race, would not have been so coincidentally found by Yang Chen. After that, Aolan immediately saw the merit ring on Yang Chen's hand. Yang Chen had purposely shown it to her. Since she already guessed Yang Chen's background, there was no need for Yang Chen to hide anything. Speaking of which, Aolan was probably the only one who could guess Yang Chen's background based on the fact that he was an executioner. Even the upper echelon of the profound Heaven Gate only dared to be sure after seeing the merit ring. They were clearly not as knowledgeable as Aolan. That's not right. There should be one more person. He did not even know if Yang Chen was an executioner before he was certain that Yang Chen came from the Immortal killing platform. That person was Big Brother Li Cheng. Back then, he was nearly certain of this when they met. He just did not say it out loud. Later, when Yang Chen asked him about refining the entrance to the Immortal killing platform, he did not appear surprised. Clearly, he already knew about it. After hearing Yang Chen's confirmation, Aolan also turned silent. It seemed like she did not know what to say. Aolan also had to carefully digest the contents before she could decide what to say. The girls also found it strange that Aolan asked Yang Chen this question. They had all experienced the Scarlet Dusk in the mortal world before. However, they did not know what happened during that period of time. Based on the looks of it, it seemed like her husband had a fortuitous encounter at that time. Everyone became curious. After thinking for a while, Lan was about to speak when she suddenly saw many pairs of eyes staring at her. They were Yang Chen's wives, maids, and the others. This time, Aolan was unable to say what she wanted to say. She clearly paused and sucked in a deep breath. All the girls were intelligent people. How could they not tell that Aolan had something to say that she did not want everyone to know? Immediately, they all tactfully left, leaving the space for Yang Chen and Aolan. Aolai originally wanted to stay and listen what Aolan had to say. However, Gayu dragged her away. This angered Aolai so much that he muttered, "What is it that you cannot let others know?" After a long time, Aolan raised her head and asked somewhat nervously, "Who is the senior who gave you the treasure trove?" Even Aolan herself didn't know why she felt nervous when facing Yang Chen. To be honest, this kind of emotion had not appeared in Aolan for a long time. It had been so long that Aolan couldn't remember the last time she felt nervous. Actually, Aolan had already asked this very tactfully. As long as one was not an executioner, one could only be left with one identity, a prisoner awaiting execution. By asking like this, Aolan was probably giving Yang Chen some face and not letting Yang Chen feel enmity. After all, directly asking who you killed could easily lead others astray. Ao Guang. Only Yang Chen and Aolan were present. Yang Chen did not hide anything, directly revealing the Eastern Sea Dragon King's name. Some secrets were kept in his heart. Yang Chen also felt uncomfortable. Now, he could finally reveal some to someone who understood. Even if it was just an insignificant portion, it was sufficient for Yang Chen to release some of his pent-up frustrations. When Aolan heard this well-known name of the dragon race, she heaved a sigh of relief. She revealed an indescribable expression and finally said indifferently, "I just knew it was him." "Big sister knows the Dragon King?" Yang Chen asked out of curiosity. Even though Xiao Chen killed the Eastern Sea Dragon King, he did not have any grudges with the Dragon King. Aolan probably understood this and would not vent her anger on him for killing the Dragon King. Looking at Aolan, she seemed to be related to Ao Guang. Aolan was also a member of the royal clan. She should be a descendant of Ao Guang. "He is my ancestor," Aolan explained to Yang Chen after a while. This was within Yang Chen's expectations. After explaining their relationship, Aolan continued, "Only he would know where these things are. Only he would be captured by those cultivators. After so many years, he did not improve at all. He still only knows how to refine treasures and not how to fight. He serves him right. Chapter 1983. The immortals that Yang Chun killed on the immortal killing platform all had a special characteristic. Their combat prowess was not at the peak. The famous ones who could fight, Lu Dongbin, Neza, Yang Jian, and so on, were all not around. It was practically impossible to capture experts of that level alive. It was even a mystery whether they managed to keep them alive or not. The dragon race experts were even more valiant. The dragon race was a strong fighting race. They were born experts that surpassed human fiend cultivators. It was very surprising that the Eastern Sea Dragon King was captured. With A.O. Land's explanation, Yang Chun understood why the Eastern Sea Dragon King was captured alive. It turned out that the Eastern Sea Dragon King was so engrossed in refining that he neglected fighting. Now that Xiao Chun explained it, it made sense. Although he wanted to know more about the dragon race's secrets, Yang Chun suddenly did not know what to say. Xiao Chun had killed the Eastern Sea Dragon King's ancestor with one saber strike. Although there was no personal grudge, this was clearly not a good time to say this. After holding it in for a long time, Yang Chun could only say something that was said too many times: "Big sister, please restrain your grief and go with the flow." It was clear that A.O. Lan had become somewhat agitated when she spoke. It was best not to agitate her at this moment. "It's fine. I just lost my composure after knowing the exact news." A.O. Lan truly lived up to her reputation as an expert. She quickly calmed down and calmed her emotions. Then, she turned to look at Yang Chun and carefully sized him up before saying, "For him to be willing to give you the thing, it looks like he has high hopes for you." He did not say anything superfluous. Yang Chun said calmly as he thought about his meeting with the Eastern Sea Dragon King. "That's normal. You are not of the dragon race." What else can he say? A.O. Lan did not know what kind of feeling she had for A.O. Guang, but her words had a sense of understanding. However, since he gave it to you, he definitely hopes that you can bring it to greater heights. Of course, you are also his last hope. If he misses you, he probably will not get another chance. He had no choice but to do so. After A.O. Lan said all this, she seemed to vent some of her emotions. She just minded her own business and picked up a jar of Jade Dragon wine. Then, she drained it in one go and returned to being the big sister A.O. Lan of the past. "All right, let's not talk about him." A.O. Lan's eyes no longer showed any confusion or reminiscence. They turned clear. "I cannot give you any help. The dragon race's methods are not suitable for you. Perhaps this is why he gave you these treasures. Just do your best to use your own methods." Yang Chun understood what A.O. Lan meant. According to A.O. Lan, be it the Mountain River geographical map or the Golden Bell, they were all incomplete products. The water-fire dragon horns were just materials. Only the profound, heavenly dark sea shuttle and the 5-element rope hook could barely be considered complete products. Perhaps it was because completely following the Dragon Clan's method would not be able to reach the pinnacle, which was why it had been preserved and not refined further. If Yang Chun didn't use the Dragon Clan's method at all, he might be able to break through. Furthermore, if you run into the dragon race that makes a move against you, leave them alive if you can. A.O. Lan added, "If you really can't, kill them if you need to." This was an even clearer answer to the earlier topic of slaying dragons. "All right, big sister." Yang Chun promised and didn't say anything more. He raised his hands and clapped. Yang Chun clapped his hands twice, and the women listened to the sound and gathered around. No one asked what Yang Chun and A.O. Lan had said. Even Sun Qingxue, who was the most curious, did not say anything. A.O. Lai was like a well-behaved baby. He closed his mouth tightly and did not make a sound. "We should go," Yang Chun said to the girls. "Now that we have obtained the items, let's go home." The Scarlet Blood Sect, the 10,000 Fiend Sect, and the Tri-River Alliance's cave residences were all in Yang Chen's hands. It could be said that the greatest benefits of the operation to eliminate the Tri-River Alliance were already in Yang Chen's hands. Yang Chen swallowed all the disciples, treasures, inheritances, and all sorts of resources of the three great sects. The various great sects only obtained some territories, spirit veins, and mineral resources. At most, they killed some opponents and obtained some spoils of war. All the remaining benefits belonged to Yang Chen. Not long ago, when Yang Chen's killing intent burst out, many cultivators must have sensed it. Very soon, countless cultivators would come over to investigate. The kind of crazy killing intent burst out. Who knew if it was the birth of an exceptional divine weapon? When faced with such a good thing, who would not covet it? Who would not go crazy? As for whether it was a cultivator who suddenly burst out, that was simply impossible. With such a strong killing intent, he must have killed a lot of living beings. Normally, he was a demonic cultivator whose hands were stained with blood. However, did such a cultivator exist in reality? With such a strong killing intent, his name should have spread far and wide. Who had heard of him? It had to be said that this was the result of Yang Chen's low-key behavior. Except for those around him who had seen him burst out with their own eyes and experienced it personally, no one would believe that this was something that a cultivator could do. Although this was a place ravaged by demon beasts, as long as there was something that tempted cultivators, many cultivators would definitely risk their lives to explore it. This was something that Yang Chen was well aware of, so it was inevitable that he would leave. The Five Elements Dragon Palace was now the mysterious Heaven Dark Sea Shuttle, and mysterious Heaven Dark Sea Shuttle was the Five Elements Dragon Palace. When Yang Chen was talking to everyone, the Dragon Palace had already taken everyone underground and left this troublesome place. Husband, that expert from the Myriad Demon sect, still has a small cave abode. Gong Sunling had already collected everything in the surroundings into the Mountain River geographical map. She did not forget to keep the body of the expert from the Myriad Demon sect. Then, she found the cave abode on his body. There are about 1,000 Xian immortal demon beasts in there. Alive. Such a powerful guy. His strength was not at the top, but he had the ability to control demon beasts. This time, the Zhao family's defeat was not undeserved. If they could make use of such an expert earlier, they might be able to control more demon beasts. They might even be able to gather a demon beast army and advance and retreat in unison. Such a talent was actually used to guard the cave abode. It was really a waste of talent. The Myriad Demon sect was defeated by this kind of narrow-mindedness. This also gave Yang Chun and the others a solid lesson. Even a lion would use all its strength to catch a rabbit. Moreover, a few sect against 20 sect, and he actually thought of holding back. It would be strange if he didn't lose. Of course, perhaps this guy had been hiding something. Now that he was dead, no one could tell what had happened. At least, it made everyone understand that when it was time to go all out, don't think about holding back. More than 1,000 living Xian immortal demon beasts made Gong Sunling a little worried. These crazy demon beasts had almost no intelligence. They were completely crazy. Staying in a mountain river geographical map was a bit of a hindrance. Chapter 1984. These monsters were not the same as cultivators. They were different from the monsters that Gong Sunling collected not long ago and were frightened by Yang Chen's killing intent. They had no intelligence and relied on their instincts. They would not take the initiative to cultivate and would only destroy. It was not helpful to the mountain river geographical map at all. Instead, it distracted Gong Sunling to prevent them from attacking crazily and causing damage to the mountain river geographical map. Fortunately, these monsters were trapped in the cave residence and had not been released into the mountain river geographical map. For the time being, Gong Sunling did not have to worry. However, there was such a group of time bombs inside, which always made people restless. Similarly, the monsters that Gong Sunling collected were frightened by Yang Chan were in the same situation. The only difference was that the cultivation of those monsters was relatively low. Gong Sunling's mountain river geographical map could easily suppress them, keep them for everyone to practice. Yang Chun did not directly sentence those monsters to death. Although it was easy to kill them and could add a lot of spiritual veins to the mountain river geographical map, it was a pity to die in vain. But it was a pity to die in vain. It just so happened that everyone wanted to practice. It was also a good idea to practice in the mountain river geographical map. With nearly 1 million human immortal cultivators helping to refine the mountain river geographical map, Gong Sunling's efficiency was now very high. The bodies of the monsters that were killed by A.O. Lan began to be refined almost at the same time, instead of starting one by one like before. This also showed that Gong Sunling's control of the mountain river geographical map was getting more and more handy. The medicine gardens of the Holocaust sect and the 10,000 demon sect took great pains to collect all flew out of the mountain gate cave residents and gathered at the side of Hannah Mengyu, Zhu, and Abai. Just beside them, thousands of medicine gardens began to melt at the same time and integrated into the world they were in. It was estimated that Hannah Mengyu and the others had never seen such a big scene in their lives. They were in a huge sea of medicine, but there were countless spaces around them collapsing and merging. Just looking at it made people feel fascinated and felt the magic of creation. Yang Chun had only brought the group tens of thousands of miles away from their original location when at least several thousand figures rushed towards them from all directions. Countless divine senses swept back and forth in the area. As a few experts collided with each other, invisible explosions rang out. There was still a killing intent that had yet to completely dissipate from the ground, and the cultivators in the area could still feel a chill run down their spines. And this was after the eruption of at least a few incense sticks. One could imagine the intensity of that burst of killing intent at that time. Not to mention anything else. Just the fact that the entire ground in this area had been turned over and all the monsters had disappeared without a trace was enough to tell how powerful the magic treasure was when it appeared. It could be said that this area had been attacked by that magic treasure once, and everything had been reduced to dust. Only then would such a situation occur. Naturally, the magic treasure that had just appeared in the world was even more tempting. Now, there was no trace of the magic treasure, but there was no aura in the surroundings, so the magic treasure was probably still there. The people who arrived did not kill each other. Instead, they split into a few directions and checked the area inch by inch. Regardless of whether it was in the sky or underground, digging 1 meter into the ground was not enough. They had to dig at least 10 kilometers. Some of the recovered demonic beasts tried to enter this area, but they were immediately chopped into pieces. At this moment, anything that dared to obstruct or interfere with their search for the magic treasure would be the first to be killed. Yang Chun and the others were already far away and did not know what happened. Even if they knew, they would just treat it as a joke. Right now, they had already obtained the greatest benefit. What they needed to do was to return to the sect quickly. After that, they would split the loot after Gong Sunling slowly refined the cave. The benefits of the 3 super sect were sufficient to turn Yang Chen's family, Ao Lan, and Ao Lai from nothing to the wealthiest people in the spiritual realm. Ao Lan and Ao Lai did not reject Yang Chen's share of the benefits. Ao Lan had put in a lot of effort. At the very least, Ao Lan was the main reason why they could obtain the 3 caves. Only Ao Lai came for a stroll. He basically did not do anything and got all the credit. However, Yang Chun did not mind sharing some things with this fellow. In his heart, Ao Lai favored Yang Chun more. As it would still take some time to refine the cave, Ao Lan and Ao Lai naturally stayed with Yang Chen's family. This was exactly what Ao Lai wanted. In the end, Ao Lan felt very stifled staying in the Dragon Palace. All the way back to the Pure Yang Palace, Gong Sunling was refining the small medicine garden space and the corpses of the monsters along the way. When she almost rushed back, just after the Sunset Rock had not yet arrived at the Pure Yang Palace, all the small medicine gardens had been refined and integrated, and thousands of monster corpses had become large and small spiritual veins. At the moment when the last medicine garden space was refined, Gong Sunling's cultivation base quickly broke through the peak human immortal realm. Tribulation clouds started to gather in the sky. The human immortal heavenly tribulation was about to descend. Yang Chun and the rest were not surprised. They spread out and protected Gong Sunling in an area with a radius of 50 kilometers. They waited quietly for her to undergo the tribulation. No one doubted that Gong Sunling would not be able to undergo the tribulation. They just guarded against other cultivators. Since someone was undergoing the tribulation, there were many cultivators in Linyang River. Naturally, there were people who came to observe the ceremony. Some even had other intentions. However, when they saw that it was Yang Chen's family, No one dared to have any evil thoughts. If anyone had any designs on the young palace lord's wife in Chunyang Palace, it was not that they were tired of living. Instead, it was a family or even a sect member who was tired of living. Many cultivators sensed for a while. When they realized that it was just a human immortal tribulation, they gave up the idea of rushing over to observe the ceremony. Only some human immortal cultivators were interested in it. If they could feel it up close, it would be beneficial for them to undergo their own tribulations in the future. I'm afraid that these people are going to have a tragedy. Yang Chun sensed the human immortal cultivators gathering around him. He could not help but shake his head and sigh. Observing the heavenly tribulation is just to gain some experience. How can it be a tragedy? Ao Lan was just beside him. There was no need for Ao Lan to handle such a small scene. She was just chatting with Yang Chun. Yang Chun's words were a little outrageous. Ao Lan could not help but retort. Big sister. Yang Chun smiled bitterly. He pointed to the tribulation clouds in the sky and said, "Look at these tribulation clouds. How powerful will A Ling's tribulation be? You don't care about such a small scene. If those little guys who see A Ling's tribulation think that the future human immortal tribulation will be this powerful, will they still have the confidence to cultivate?" Ao Lan was a peak golden immortal. Naturally, she would not care about a mere human immortal tribulation. Hence, she did not pay attention to this subconsciously. When she heard what Yang Chun said, she looked up. Even though she was a peak golden immortal, she could not help but open her mouth wide. Chapter 1985. The tribulation cloud above Gong Suanling's head had already started to take shape. However, based on the appearance of the tribulation cloud, it already gave off the feeling of an earthly immortal tribulation. This was clearly a human immortal tribulation. How could it be like this? While Ao Lan was feeling bewildered, the heavenly tribulation had already descended. The densely packed tribulation clouds covered the entire sky, surrounding Gong Sunling in the middle and smashing down. Just by looking at it with the naked eye, Ao Lan could tell that there were more than a few thousand of them. This was a human immortal tribulation? The spectating cultivators were all dumbfounded. Ao Lan could not believe her eyes. She had seen human immortal tribulations in the spiritual realm tens of thousands of times. However, none of them had been as thrilling as this. Ordinary human immortal tribulations would just smash down one by one. The cultivator who was undergoing the tribulation would resolve them one by one, and then it would be over. However, the heavenly tribulation before her eyes was like a violent storm. How many was this? Yang Chun was very careful to stare at the movement of Gong Sunling, as he was afraid that his spiritual senses would affect the heavenly tribulation. He only dared to watch with his eyes. Yang Chun had already expected the situation in front of him. There were already millions of cultivators in Gong Sunling's mountain river geographical map. Her cultivation base was also like this because of the changes in the mountain river geographical map. So she would definitely bear the extraordinary attack of the tribulation. Now, it all depended on whether Gong Sunling could endure this level of heavenly tribulation. Gong Sunling did not disappoint the crowd. She had a clear understanding of her own strength. She knew that she relied on her life treasure to have such a cultivation. Therefore, she did not avoid using her life treasure to resist the heavenly tribulation. Those who believe that relying on one's own strength to undergo the tribulation was the right way did not appear on her. The geographical map turned into a scroll that flew around Gong Sunling, absorbing all the descending heavenly tribulations into the scroll. The scroll kept flashing with light, and every time it flashed, a heavenly tribulation would explode. The entire scroll flickered with the light of the heavenly tribulation. At first, it only flickered once or twice. Later on, it simply connected, turning the scroll into a bright light source that emitted blazing light. Occasionally, a few heavenly tribulations would be ignored by the scroll and fall on Gong Sunling. Yang Chen knew that Gong Sunling was intentionally using the heavenly tribulation to temper herself, which was beneficial to Gong Sunling. From a beginning to the present, Gong Sunling did not show any panic. All the heaven's tribulations were taken by her in an orderly manner, either with herself or with the geographical map. She was always calm. Looking at this scene, Yang Chan was relieved and waited quietly. The entire process could barely be considered as observing the ceremony, but this ceremony had no practical significance at all. It did not provide any reference for one's own experience and could only be viewed as a spectacle. Other than Gong Sunling, it was estimated that no one else's heaven's tribulation would be like this, even for Yang Chun. Yang Chun was looking forward to seeing what the geographical map would look like after being tempered by so many heaven's tribulations. With such a powerful heaven's tribulation, if used properly, it was estimated that it would be equivalent to millions of cultivators working together to refine for a year. Gong Sunling's heaven's tribulation, which could not be distinguished at all, lasted for a whole 6 hours. Gong Sunling was wrapped in the heaven's tribulation for a whole 6 hours. When the last heaven's tribulation fell, the tribulation clouds dissipated and the blue sky was vast. It was as if nothing had happened. In the distance, Gong Sunling stood in the same place. The mountain river geographical map that turned into a picture scroll also calmed down slowly from the flickering, no longer emitting light. It looked like an ordinary yellowed picture scroll, unremarkable. However, the gazes of the Yang clan, Aolan, and Aolai were all fixed on that unremarkable painting. It was as though it was the most beautiful painting in the world. How was it? Yang Chun was the first to run over. He did not say many words of congratulations and just asked directly. They were already an old couple, so there was no need for so many formalities. They only needed to ask in the most intimate manner. Husband. Even though her cultivation was now one realm higher than Yang Chen's, Gong Sunling still greeted Yang Chun like she did at the end of the ceremony. Then, she replied, I have refined the first cave abode. The power of heaven's tribulation was terrifying. It was 10,000 times stronger than the effect brought by ordinary cultivators. The 6 hours of densely packed heaven's tribulation had brought the effect of refining the geographical map to a higher level. Everyone who rushed overheard this sentence, and all of them had smiles on their faces. The secret that Gong Sunling mentioned was only the first one. However, everyone knew that it was the cave abode of the Three River Alliance. Before they left, they were just one step away. Now, the heaven's tribulation had helped Gong Sunling complete the final refinement. Under the gaze of Yang Chun and the rest, Gong Sunling's cultivation began to increase again after she had just passed the heaven's tribulation. She rapidly rose to grade 2, earthly, immortal. Then this rising momentum slowly stopped and finally stabilized. Let's go home first. Then, we will slowly divide the spoils. Yang Chun waved his hand and kept all the women in the Dragon Palace. They were about to reach Chunyang Palace. They had not been back for over 10 years. It was better to return to the sect first. After rushing back to the sect, Yang Chun naturally brought all the women to visit the elders. In the past 10 years, many things had happened in the spiritual realm. However, relatively speaking, Chunyang Palace had been far away from the center of the whirlpool. Basically, it was relatively stable. The sect was also developing steadily. In recent years, the biggest event in the spiritual realm was the joint destruction of the Three River Alliance, the Holocaust sect, and the Thousand Goblins sect by the Major Sect. In the past, the Major Sect had targeted the Zhao family once. However, it was the first time that they had directly faced the super sect that was controlled by the Zhao family. The scale of the battle between the two sides was huge. It was not an exaggeration to call it a war. The war was the matter of the Major Sect. However, the aftermath of the war directly affected the entire spiritual realm. The remnants of the Three River Alliance, the Holocaust sect, and the Thousand Goblins sect were wanted by the entire spiritual realm. When the war broke out, the disciples of the three sect who had not been able to return to the sect in time became pitiful victims. Faced with the entire spiritual realm's wanted list, the lucky ones hid in a corner and struggled to survive. The unlucky ones were either killed or captured. Then, they were sent to the major sect to claim credit. It took a full 10 years just to catch those who had escaped the net. Unfortunately, those who were caught were just some small fry. Most of the disciples of the three sect had disappeared without a trace. Needless to say, they must have been picked up by the Zhao family. In this regard, the major sect was mentally prepared. Fortunately, more than half of the peak strength of the three sect had been killed. The Zhao family was also greatly weakened. This was an indisputable fact. It could be said that the major sect returned with a great victory. However, including the major sect, no one took it lightly because of this. Everyone knew that the Zhao family would not give up so easily. The current period of peace was probably to settle the disciples of the three sect. When the matter was settled, it would be the day to settle the accounts with the major sect. Chapter 1986. After returning to the sect, Yang Chun stayed in the sect and no longer went out. The girls also followed Yang Chun and obediently stayed in the small house in the Dragon Palace to cultivate. At least that was how it looked to outsiders. However, everyone was basically not in the Dragon Palace, but in Gong Sunling's Mountain River geographical world. The Three River Alliance's cave abode had been completely refined and became a part of the Mountain River geographical world. Everyone was here to admire this huge cave abode. It must be said that to be able to accommodate hundreds of thousands of Three River Alliance's cultivators and provide for so many cultivators to cultivate, this cave abode was really a bit shocking. Just the area alone reached a radius of hundreds of thousands of miles. It was several times bigger than the Sunset Cliff, Linyang River, and Hatred Parting Sea. A big sect was indeed a big sect. Just by looking at the size of this cave abode, it could be seen. The refinement of this huge cave abode had stabilized the Mountain River geographical map to an unbelievable level. Even if all the cultivators here were to attack the same place, they would not be able to destroy this world. No one had the power to destroy such a big world. The only pity was that even though Gong Sunling's cultivation had skyrocketed and had reached the Earth Immortal Grade 1, she still did not have the ability to take the initiative to collect the Heaven Immortal experts in battle. There were pros and cons. Without this heaven-defying attack power, as long as Gong Sunling and the Mountain River geographical map protected her, even a Xian Immortal expert would not be able to hurt her. The Three River Alliance's sect's secret treasure was finally revealed to Yang Chen's family and Ao Lan and Ao Lai. This was the Three River Alliance's secret treasure. After being refined, the treasures of the secret treasure were piled up in a huge area, waiting for them to come forward and choose. Pick what you like. The faster you get it, the slower you don't get it. Yang Chun called out to everyone and took the lead to rush into the mountain of treasures. With Yang Chun taking the lead, the women naturally did not fall behind. Even Feng Hua and the maids were no exception. All of them rushed in happily and searched for what they liked. Even if this was Gong Sunling's world, and Gong Sunling could take all these things away with just a thought, what fun would there be in fighting over them? Gong Sunling did not show any weakness either. She directly rushed in and looked around. If she saw something good, she would first take it to her side. Ao Lan and Ao Lai were also qualified to participate in this feast of splitting the spoils. Ao Lai did not fall behind at all, directly following behind Yang Chun. His long figure moved around the treasure mountain, searching for treasures that interested him. As for Ao Lan, he was not in that much of a rush. Instead, he slowly flew to the sky above the treasure mountain and slowly descended. Then, he took his time to observe for a long time. Occasionally, he would reach out and grab an item. No one used their spiritual sense to check. Although everyone could instantly figure out the origins of hundreds and thousands of Dharma treasures, it was still the same question. What was the point of doing that? The treasure hunting game relied on one's eyesight to discover treasures without anyone knowing. This was the most exciting thing. When was one's thoughts the most clear? The enemy's head and the situation before them. Everyone present had a joyous look on their faces. Casually picking up a few Dharma treasures, when piled up, would surpass the largest Ao Lan and Ao Lai. Furthermore, such items piled up into a mountain. Based on everyone's speed, they would not be able to finish picking even after 100 years. If their thoughts were not clear now, when would they ever be clear? Just picking out treasures was rather monotonous. This was not a problem for Gong Sunling. Everything was prepared. This was the core mountain gate of Chunyang Palace. Yangqin's small house was located in the Earth Dragon's stomach. There was no need to worry about safety. Without anything to worry about, everyone could do whatever they wanted here. If they wanted to cultivate, there were hundreds of Heaven Immortal grade spirit veins. If they were bored, there was the complete inheritance of the Three River Alliance not far away. In a huge library, there were hundreds of thousands of jade scrolls on the shelves. They were arranged neatly. One could not see the end of them at a glance. They could find almost any kind of content. In another direction, there were several huge palaces. There were at least thousands of alchemy furnaces. There were no less than thousands of fire seeds of the spiritual realm in the surroundings. Almost all the fire seeds needed for alchemy in the spiritual realm could be found here. Even the fire seeds that Yangchun had not found in the Yin-Yang heaven-burning fire could be found here. There was no shortage of medicinal herbs. Hannah Mingyu, Zhu, and Abi had not sorted out the medicinal herbs in the herb garden. There were so many that it was enough for Yangchun to use for practice. Cultivation methods, companionship, wealth, everything could be found here. It was not an exaggeration to call it a paradise for cultivators. As long as one was a cultivator, they would probably be so happy that they would forget home and home. In the face of such a huge amount of wealth and resources, everyone's state of mind would naturally improve. Not caring about having everything and pretending to not care about having never had anything were two completely different realms. It was like heaven and earth. Everyone was completely enjoying their cultivation. That's right, it was enjoyment. Unlike those cultivators who were struggling to break through, their lives were only boring day after day of cultivation. But there was no such thing here. It was a completely happy scene. For Yangchun and the others, cultivation was a happy thing. There were family, lovers, beauties, friends, and there were many happy things. There was no need to fall into the quagmire of cultivation. The effect of cultivation in this situation was obvious. Everyone present was a genius with full innate or acquired value. It was like adding wings to a tiger. Their cultivation had advanced by leaps and bounds. Unlike the Yang family, the Zhao family was very happy. In one of the core buildings of the Zhao family, the patriarch and several elders were frowning and discussing something. Haven't found them yet? The patriarch stared at a member of the family who came in to report. His eyes seemed to be condensed into frost. So many secret marks were left, but none of them found them. Patriarch, none of them. The member of the family felt guilty being stared at by the patriarch and the elders. He didn't dare to hide anything and quickly replied, "We sent many people to look for them, but none of them found them. Have you sent people to look for the hidden spirit veins?" An elder at the side interrupted and asked, "Elder, we've searched." The member of the family didn't dare to be negligent. He immediately turned to the elder and replied respectfully, "We found some traces of activity, but we couldn't find the 3 disciples of the sect. What's strange is that one of the spirit veins in the 1,000 Demon sect was destroyed. Also, something strange happened there." What strange happened? Everyone's spirits rose as they asked in unison. It's said that a peerless treasure has appeared there. There are already tens of thousands of cultivators looking for it. There have been many battles, and the ground within a 10,000-mile radius has been dug up. The member of the family lowered his head and reported, "The people we sent out really couldn't find the disciples of the 1,000 Demon sect in that situation." Chapter 1987. The Zhao family patriarch and the elders were also puzzled. After carefully asking the family members, they understood that it was like looking for a needle in a haystack to find the whereabouts of the disciples of the 1,000 Demon sect. They couldn't help but feel depressed again. They couldn't help but feel depressed. There were more than 2 million disciples in all realms in the 3 sects. With so many disciples, no matter where they were a powerful force that couldn't be ignored. If the 3 sects joined forces, even the biggest sect in the spiritual realm, the Xintian sect, would have to avoid them. No one would let go of such power. However, because of the previous mistake, they lost the game. Who knew that a little human immortal junior could break the dragon trap formation arranged by the masters of the dragon clan, causing the dragon puppet to escape and gain the upper hand? The peak forces of the 3 sects were almost wiped out. Even the Zhao family lost tens of thousands of Xian immortal monsters that they had accumulated for countless years. After the investigation of what happened on the battlefield, the Zhao family knew that the key to breaking the dragon trap formation was Yang Chun. In such a big scene, there are many people. In addition, there were always people in the sect who were not satisfied with Yang Chun taking away the Dragon Palace. So the sect masters had to explain. In this way, the Zhao family also knew that Yang Chun played a key role on the battlefield. In the mortal world, because Yang Chun found the Zhao family manor and released the Black Tortoise, the entire Zhao family manor was destroyed by the Black Tortoise. Because of the attack on the Chunyang Palace in the spiritual realm, several Xian immortal masters of the Zhao family were killed. Later, they were besieged by the major sect and killed tens of thousands of Zhao family's outer disciples. In addition to this time, Yang Chun had repeatedly gone against the Zhao family. In this way, the new and old hatred made the Zhao family hate Yang Chun to the bone. They wanted to skin him and eat his flesh. They wanted to tear his body into pieces and grind his bones into ashes, but it was not enough to vent the hatred in their hearts. However, Yang Chun was just one person. Compared to the more than 2 million disciples of the three sects, he was still a small matter. With so many disciples, it was impossible for the Zhao family to accept all of them to the core manor immediately. They hurriedly arranged a temporary shelter, but sadly found that the disciples of the three sects could not be found. How is this possible? They were three super sects with more than 2 million disciples. Even if they were hiding in the abodes of the sect and were carried by a master, how could they disappear? It should be known that those who were in charge of controlling the abodes of the sect were the most loyal disciples of the Zhao family. When it was necessary, they would not even listen to the orders of the sect masters of the three sects. However, they had disappeared without any warning. The Zhao family had been searching for the possible places for almost 2 years, but they couldn't find a single target in 2 years. This had already made the patriarch and the elders anxious to the extreme. When they were anxious to the extreme, the next step should be an explosion. No sect could accept the disappearance of 2 million disciples, and no sect could accept the loss of 2 million disciples. The small sect couldn't, the big sect couldn't, the mysterious heaven sect couldn't, and the Zhao family definitely couldn't. Controlling the three super sect was something that the Zhao family had been planning ever since they were in the mortal world. It was unknown how many generations and tens of thousands of years had passed before they had achieved their current results. In the end, because the Three River Alliance was exposed, all the arrangements were ruined. Speaking of the Three River Alliance's exposure, it seemed that the matter was related to Yang Chun. If it wasn't for the few guys from the Three River Alliance who were greedy for Yang Chen's elixir combination and kidnapped Yang Chen's disciples and friends, these things might not have happened at all. If one were to think about it carefully, it was because Yang Chun found the place where Mu Bo and Yi Yu were trapped that he discovered the array that was arranged according to the principles of the dragon trapping array. After learning some of the principles from that array, he used it on the dragon trapping array, which explained why Yang Chun was able to break the dragon trapping array and release the dragon puppet. This way, the logic was clear enough, and everything could be explained. Strictly speaking, it was the Zhao family who offended them first, even when they were in the mortal world. However, the Zhao family didn't think so. Even if they knew the truth, they wouldn't feel that they were wrong. The world of cultivation was the law of the jungle. Of course, whoever had the bigger fist would listen to them. In this way, Yang Chun was also a big problem for the Zhao family. There were already many core disciples of the Zhao family who were extremely dissatisfied with Yang Chun and wanted to get rid of him. It was only because the three sects' more than 2 million disciples were important that Yang Chun and Chunyang Palace were put aside. More than 2 million disciples couldn't be given up easily. No matter how anxious they were, they had to be patient to find them. Just as Yang Chun and his family were happily cultivating and dividing the spoils, the Zhao family was in a mess looking for the whereabouts of the three sect. This search had been going on for 20 years. In the past 20 years, the Zhao family had used no less than tens of thousands of people. They had almost turned over the areas where the disciples of the three sect might appear, but they still couldn't find the whereabouts of those people and the cave residences. The Zhao family's patience began to wear thin. After so many years, the senior leaders of the Zhao family had begun to force themselves to accept the fact that the three sect disciples had been lost. At the same time, they began to gradually change the Zhao family style of doing things. In the past, the Zhao family had been secretly arranging things. But since the Zhao family was discovered in the mortal world, the Zhao family stood on the opposite side of the major sect. Although the Zhao family had secretly controlled several supersect for so many years, they still didn't have an advantage in terms of strength. This was also one of the reasons why the Zhao family had been hiding behind the scenes. In terms of the number and quality of masters, the Zhao family was not inferior to any of the major sects, and even surpassed them. Before the Five Elements sect got the dragon puppet, when it came to top masters, the major sects were actually not as good as the Zhao family. It was just that for some special reasons, those super masters couldn't leave a certain area, which led to the major sect's division of power in the spiritual realm. However, the Zhao family's forbearance seemed to have become the reason why the Zhao family was easy to bully. First, a human immortal junior had broken the seals set by the ancestors of the Zhao family one by one. Then, the major sect had besieged them. If this could be tolerated, what couldn't? The loss of more than 2 million disciples of the three sects disciples made the Zhao family's anger burn to the extreme. Seeing the major sect's triumphant declaration of victory and division of the Zhao family's territory and resources, an elder of the Zhao family finally couldn't hold back his anger and strongly demanded revenge. The Zhao family wasn't a fat sheep that could be trampled on, nor were they cowards who didn't fight back. The disciples couldn't be sacrificed in vain, and the territories couldn't be lost in vain. Everything that the major sect had done to the Zhao family had to be taken back from them. In addition, Yang Chun, who had ruined the Zhao family's plans several times, couldn't be let off either. Chapter 1988. Previously, the Zhao family had miscalculated and thought that the dragon trapping formation, tens of thousands of demon beasts, and the mystic immortal experts of the three sect would be enough to control the situation. Therefore, the core experts of the Zhao family did not participate in the battle. In fact, if everything went according to the Zhao family's plan, the outcome would indeed be as expected. When the dragon trapping formation trapped the dragon puppet, all the sect leaders were in despair. If it wasn't for Yang Chen's appearance, the outcome of the battle would still be unknown. The Zhao family still had many high-end forces in the core area. Although the three sect had failed, the core strength of the Zhao family was not lost. They only lost tens of thousands of mystic immortal demon beasts. As long as the Zhao family wanted to, they could summon as many demon beasts as they wanted. The only problem was that it was relatively troublesome to control them in the beginning, and it would take a lot of time. All the major sects were feeling proud of themselves. Not only did most of them reclaim their own sects, but they had also annihilated the Zhao family's peripheral organizations, the Three River Alliance, the Holocaust sect, and the Thousand Demon sect. They were now happily hunting down the remaining members of the three sects and training in the horde of demonic beasts. It was time to let them know the true strength of the Zhao family. The cultivators of the spiritual realm had never thought that the territories they had spent so much effort to reclaim from the hands of the demon beasts would suddenly appear in the form of countless demon beasts. The ones who killed the powerful demon beasts were definitely experts. After clearing the mystic immortal and heaven immortal level demon beasts in certain areas, the experts would usually move on. The remaining human immortal and earth immortal level demon beasts would be left for the cultivators who came later. This was an unspoken rule. On one hand, it was to ensure that cultivators of all levels would have the opportunity to train, and on the other hand, it was to ensure the safety of these cultivators. Basically, everyone followed this rule, and no one disobeyed it. The territories that were conquered would be taken over by the original sect. After all, there were no more powerful demon beasts. The remaining weak demon beasts would be taken care of by the original sect disciples. Outsiders would not interfere to prevent misunderstandings. Just as the major sect was restoring their mountain gates and sending their junior disciples to clean up the demonic beasts in their mountain gates, the sudden appearance of mystic immortal level demonic beasts instantly caused countless sect to suffer heavy casualties. A super sect or a first-rate sect was still fine. At the very least, there would be enough experts within the sect to keep watch. Once a powerful demonic beast appeared, these experts would immediately attack and rescue many disciples. However, those small sects were in a miserable state. They didn't have many experts in their sects, and their territories were all taken by the experts of other sects along the way. The sudden appearance of powerful demonic beasts immediately caused these small sects to suffer a disaster. These powerful demonic beasts were the revenge of the Zhao family. Due to the lack of time, the Zhao family was unable to control a large number of tame demonic beasts. They could only send people to capture many demonic beasts in specific areas and stuff them into space magic treasures. Then, they sent people to fly in all directions, releasing demonic beasts along the way, regardless of the consequences. No one expected this move. In an instant, the entire spiritual realm was once again occupied by demonic beasts. Although the number of demonic beasts was not as large as the previous tide, the demonic beasts that appeared were all at the mystic, immortal level. Their destructive power was more terrifying than a mixture of various demonic beasts. For a time, the spiritual realm, which had finally calmed down, was in a mess. Even the places that had never been visited by the demonic beasts after the outbreak of the devil tribulation had now become the places where the demonic beasts raged, including the Sunset Rock and Linyang River, where Chunyang Palace was located. Yang Chun did not hide his return to Chunyang Palace. So many people knew it. Moreover, after returning to Chunyang Palace, he had not gone out, which was also known to many people. The Zhao family wanted to kill Chunyang Palace. In this area alone, they had released almost hundreds of mystic immortal demonic beasts. When the devil tribulation broke out, the Sunset Rock was the largest trading market in this direction of the spiritual realm, and Linyang River was the area with the largest number of cultivators and refugees. At this time, it was close to the end of the devil tribulation. 70 to 80% of the cultivators gathered here had left, but there was still a large number of them left. In less than 2 days, these powerful and crazy demonic beasts caused hundreds of thousands of casualties. Even the disciples of Chunyang Palace in this area were caught off guard, and more than 10,000 of them were killed or injured. The arrangement that Yang Chun had made long before the outbreak of the devil tribulation finally came in handy. The first was the Sunset Rock. Countless formation flags were quickly activated. The cultivators in the Sunset Rock also knew that now was the time to unite against a common enemy. Everyone worked together to activate the formation, directly turning the Sunset Rock into a strong fortress. The fortress not only had the function of protection, but it also had the function of isolating the aura of cultivators. When the demonic beasts could not detect the aura of cultivators here, they naturally would not stay here for long, and went straight to the place where there were many people. At this time, the place where the most cultivators gathered was obviously the mountain gate of Chunyang Palace. The response of Chunyang Palace was timely enough. After learning the news of the appearance of the demonic beasts, they immediately sent more than a dozen Xian immortal masters in the sect to kill the demonic beasts in Linyang River. However, the number of Xian immortal masters in Chunyang Palace was too small, but there were many demonic beasts in Linyang River, so they could not immediately eliminate the demonic beast disaster. The Zhao family was waiting for this moment. There were only a dozen masters in Chunyang Palace in total. Now, almost all of them had been sent out. Even if there were more in the sect, there were at most 1 or 2. It was a good time to raid Chunyang Palace. The 3 Xian immortal masters of the Zhao family led the demonic beasts. Seeing the masters of Chunyang Palace leave, they hid in the dark and waited quietly for 3 days. After making sure that there were no more masters around, they swaggered out and released the last dozens of Xian immortal demonic beasts in the cave residence. The seemingly solid mountain guarding formation of Chunyang Palace did not even last for 30 minutes under the crazy attack of these Xian immortal demonic beasts and was completely shattered. The entire Chunyang Palace was completely exposed to the masters of the Zhao family and the Xian immortal demonic beasts. Brought to the mountain gate of Chunyang Palace were the remaining dozens of demonic beasts of the Zhao family that had been finally domesticated. They could roughly carry out the orders of the controller. Unfortunately, they could not be compared with the master of the Thousand Demon sect. Otherwise, their power would be even more terrifying. But even so, compared with the strength of Chunyang Palace, if there was no accident, these demonic beasts were more than enough to slaughter Chunyang Palace. In the past, you destroyed my mortal family. Today, I will destroy your entire Chunyang Palace. Facing the undefended Chunyang Palace not far away, one of the masters of the Zhao family said fiercely with hatred. Then he waved his hand and said, "Kill!" All the demonic beasts immediately rushed forward. Chapter 1989. The power that Chunyang Palace had always shown was not that strong. The reason why it was able to enter the first-class sect in a short time was that it had absorbed a large number of individual cultivators. The real top masters were the dozens of Xian Immortal masters who joined the sect later. If it was still counted, at most, the few Xian Immortal great monsters that Yang Chun had rescued from the Zhao family seal formation were counted in it. However, so what? There were no more than 20 Xian Immortal masters. Today, there were 60 to 70 Xian Immortal demon beasts. Together with the masters of the Zhao family, there were no less than 100. It was definitely more than enough to slaughter the entire Chunyang Palace. Although the Pure Yang Palace has long been guaranteed by the major sects to protect the peace of the Pure Yang Palace for 1,000 years. But now the territories of the major sects are also being attacked by the sudden appearance of the Xian Immortal level monsters. Under the situation where they are unable to take care of themselves, who would remember those promises and put their own sect and disciples' lives to rescue the Pure Yang Palace? Moreover, even if the major sect was loyal to each other and kept their promises, most of the masters were concentrated in the Sunset Rock. There were hundreds of demon beasts rampaging in Linyang River, and only Chunyang Palace had sent masters to guard the sect. In addition, there were no other masters who could threaten the demon beasts. Without masters, how could the major sect save Chunyang Palace? At this time, even if Chunyang Palace had the same core mountain gate as the Three River Alliance, the Holocaust sect, and the Thousand Demon sect, it was useless. No one could escape with them, and naturally, no one could escape. Today, Chunyang Palace was doomed, and no one could save them. With the gesture of the leader of the Zhao family, Xian Immortal masters of the Zhao family appeared in all directions of Chunyang Palace. They followed the demon beast from a distance and entered the mountain gate of Chunyang Palace. In fact, it didn't need to do much. They just needed to follow behind and kill those who slipped through the net. It had to be said that Chunyang Palace's reaction was fast enough. Those Xian Immortal demonic beasts had just broken the mountain guarding array, and the disciples inside had already retreated to the central area of the mountain gate. There was no disciple of Chunyang Palace in the periphery. From the direction of the attack, they could even see many disciples of Chunyang Palace retreating in an orderly manner. In the past, the Earth Dragon swallowed 2 or more mortals' caves. The head of the palace was more far-sighted and directly formed 2 immortals' caves in the abdomen of the Earth Dragon. One was a real core cave dwelling, while the other was a relatively simple cave dwelling that was not so core. The second cave mansion was completely for the disciples to have a place to hide in all kinds of emergencies. It had nothing to do with the core cave mansion that could really be inherited. However, even so, this cave was still in the stomach of the Earth Dragon. Whether it was the degree of secrecy or the level of security, it was much higher than many sects' mountain gates. Now the disciples of Chunyang Palace retreated in an orderly manner to the central area of the mountain gate and then entered this refuge cave residence. The Zhao family was not afraid that the disciples of Chunyang Palace would hide in the cave residence. On the contrary, this was exactly what they wanted. As long as the cultivators who carried the cave residence could not run away, the people inside could be caught in one fell swoop, saving the trouble of chasing around. Therefore, they did not immediately chase after them. They just slowly gathered from the surroundings and even watched leisurely as the disciples of Chunyang Palace gathered and disappeared collectively. It did not look like they were coming to kill. However, their leisurely expression did not last long, and they were stunned to see a long shadow that should not have appeared here. The moment they saw this shadow, almost all the good mood of the Zhao family immediately disappeared. That was the famous dragon puppet, a powerful magic weapon of the middle stage of Golden Immortal. It was a powerful puppet made from the whole dragon. Not to mention that they had dozens of Xian immortal masters and Xian immortal demonic beasts. Even if there were 10 times more of them, they would still be food for this dragon puppet. In an instant, the situation between the two sides was reversed. The originally ferocious hunter suddenly became the prey, which made the masters of the Zhao family almost desperate. Who would have thought that after the annihilation of the Three River Alliance, the Murong sisters did not return to the sect, but followed Yang Chun to Chunyang Palace? One had to know that the Murong sisters were the personal disciples of Sect Master Chui of the Five Elements sect. The dragon puppet was so important to the Five Elements sect. It was not a matter of a day or two for the Zhao family to release the demonic beasts. The Murong sisters did not return to the sect, but stayed in this small place. This was simply impossible. However, the impossible thing had now happened. The Murong sisters happened to be in Chunyang Palace, and the masters of the Zhao family bumped into them. What should they do now? The dragon puppet alone was enough to send all the masters and demonic beasts present to the netherworld. Just when most of the masters of the Zhao family were ashen-faced, the leading master snorted coldly. Among the cultivators present, the only one who had been as calm as before was him. "We won't make the same mistake twice," the leading master said coldly. They knew that the Murong sisters were Yang Chen's concubines, and that the dragon puppet was related to Yang Chun. How could they not make any preparations before coming here? Just as the leader had said, they wouldn't make the same mistake twice. With the words of the leading master, a long rope quietly appeared on his arm. The long rope was tightly wrapped around his arm, but one end of the long rope was like a living thing, constantly shaking at the defense line of the dragon puppet, as if it wanted to rush out the next moment. You know that the dragon puppet was refined by the Zhao family, and you still dare to take it out as a gift? After the leading expert mocked himself again, his figure suddenly shot forward like an arrow that had been released from a bow, rapidly rushing towards the dragon puppet. When he was still a few miles away from the dragon puppet, the long rope on his arm had completely dispersed. It wriggled and danced in the air like a long snake, growing many times larger, and directly coiled toward the dragon puppet. The originally mighty dragon puppet suddenly became timid at this moment, as if it had encountered its natural nemesis, and no longer had its previous mighty image. Before the Murong sisters had time to control it, the long snake had already coiled around the dragon puppet's body, then immediately entangled with the dragon puppet, and no longer separated. Strangely, as soon as the long rope wrapped around the dragon puppet, it became like maggots in the tarsal bone. No matter how the dragon puppet struggled, it could not break free. The masters of the Zhao family, who had just been disheartened, immediately became excited when they saw that their family had prepared for this. When they saw that the dragon puppet was increasingly entangled by the magic treasure on the leading master's body, almost unable to move, they all cheered in unison. The Zhao family has refined the dragon taming rope using the dragon entanglement grass. A.O. Lai, who was among the people who were watching the battle, suddenly shouted. Chapter 1990. Among everyone present, A.O. Lai could be said to be the only one who had tasted the dragon coiling grass before. However, that was before A.O. Lai took over the body. Strictly speaking, A.O. Lai had not truly been attacked by the dragon coiling grass. Even so, A.O. Lai's physical body could still remember the taste of it. The taste of being able to completely restrain its natural enemy left a deep impression on A.O. Lai after he took over the body. The damage that the dragon coiling grass had on the dragon race was clear to see. The dragon race's hatred and fear of the dragon coiling grass had already been carved into the bones of the entire race. Of course, Yang Chun could tell this as well. However, before he could inform the Murong sisters, the dragon puppet was already tied up. The other party's attack was too fast. After all, the Murong sisters were working together to control the dragon puppet, so they were too slow. After being tied up by the dragon binding rope made from the dragon coiling grass, the dragon puppet had already lost its ability to move, becoming a puppet at the mercy of others. In the past, Yang Chun found it strange how the Zhao clan managed to capture a mid-stage golden immortal dragon and refine it into a dragon puppet. Now that the dragon binding rope appeared, he immediately understood. Without a doubt, this dragon binding rope was the culprit behind the capture of the dragon puppet. Ao Lai had just shouted, but Ao Lan, who was at the side, was already filled with rage. This was a natural restraint. As long as one was a member of the dragon race, they would naturally feel angry. Ao Lan was already holding back by not acting out on the spot. Roar! Ao Lai roared furiously and charged out. Although he was only a peak heavenly immortal, a regular profound immortal expert could only hold a grudge against him. Suddenly, another dragon appeared. The Zhao clan experts felt a chill in their hearts. The cultivators were still fine. Ao Lai was only a peak heavenly immortal. No matter how strong his aura was, they could still endure it. However, the demonic beasts could no longer endure the rage of the dragon race. They fled in all directions, no longer restrained by the Zhao clan. Humph! I knew that you were colluding with the dragon race. The leader of the Zhao clan experts did not panic. He snorted coldly again and tossed out the other end of the rope. The dragon binding rope lived up to its name. Even though the other end of the rope was entangled with a dragon puppet, the other end of the rope was like an agile snake as it flew towards Ao Lai. Dragon coiling grass and dragon race were natural enemies. Therefore, the dragon binding rope made from dragon coiling grass was extremely fast when used against dragon race. Ao Lai had only rushed forward for a few miles, and he had only breathed out a large ball of flame from his mouth when the dragon binding rope had already tightly wrapped around his body. However, it wasn't as if Ao Lai didn't have the strength to resist. The flame he spat out contained the purple sun dragon fire and the spirit devouring dragon fire. The ball of flame struck the dragon binding rope, and the dragon binding rope, which was made of dragon coiling grass, immediately began to burn. Since it was a natural counter to the dragon entanglement grass, there were certain things in the dragon clan that could restrain the dragon entanglement grass, including the dragon clan's unique fire seed. The moment the two types of dragon flames came into contact with the dragon binding rope, it was like a spark thrown into a pot of boiling oil. Immediately, purple flames soared up several meters high and enveloped the dragon binding rope. Ao Lai was also enveloped by the dragon binding rope. The flames even spread towards the dragon puppet. Will Ao Lai be all right? Sun Qingxue asked worriedly as she watched from the side. Ao Lai really liked the wine that Sun Qingxue brewed without the jade dragon brewing yeast. This made Sun Qingxue very happy. Now that she saw Ao Lai being bound by the dragon binding rope, she felt somewhat worried and immediately asked about it. I'm afraid it's not good. Yang Chun watched the situation closely, but he did not show any signs of making a move. With Ao Lan, a true dragon race expert, there was no need for Yang Chun to make a move. He only explained, since the Zhao clan can capture the dragon puppet, the peak heavenly immortal Ao Lai is probably not a match for them. As though to prove Yang Chen's words, the blazing flames only lasted for a few sentences. Then, the purple flames slowly grew smaller and disappeared. As for the dragon binding rope binding the dragon puppet and Ao Lai, it did not seem to have changed at all. It was still the same. Just a mere dragon flame, and you dare to be impudent before this old man? The leading Zhao clan profound immortal expert did not look very old. However, his tone was very old. He addressed Ao Lai as this old man, not caring about the tens of thousands of years old Ao Lai at all. The strange thing was that Ao Lan had been standing on Yang Chen's side, suppressing her anger as she watched quietly. It was unknown whether it was because she feared the dragon binding rope or because she had other considerations. However, the women beside her could feel the anger that Ao Lan had been suppressing in her body. The dragon binding rope was specially targeted at the dragon race. The more one struggled, the tighter it became. Soon, the struggling Ao Lai could no longer move. His body, which was flying in the air, was forcefully pulled to the ground. Seeing that they had gained the upper hand, the Zhao clan experts regained their arrogance. In any case, the people of Chunyang Palace could not escape. It was not a bad idea to make fun of this fire dragon and put more pressure on the people of Chunyang Palace. I have seen the dragon race before, but I have never touched one. Immediately, an expert from the Zhao clan walked forward with a smile. He stared at Ao Lai's immobile body and teased his companions in the distance. As this expert spoke, he extended his hand to touch Ao Lai's huge body. His companions in the distance also seemed to be cooperating with his approach, showing the enjoyment of the winner. They let out bursts of laughter, which was particularly harsh in the empty mountain gate of the Pure Yang Palace. Amidst the laughter of the group, this Zhao clan expert's hand had already touched Ao Lai's huge dragon scales. The instant his hand touched Ao Lai, Yang Chun and Ao Lan, who were staring at the commotion, revealed mocking smiles at the same time. This smile was so obvious that all the women could see it clearly. Without waiting for the women to understand why Yang Chun and Ao Lan would laugh in such a ridiculing manner, the Zhao clan expert suddenly let out an extremely tragic cry. Then, his body quickly retreated, constantly struggling, as if there was an invisible enemy attacking him. However, no matter how his companions probed with their spiritual sense or observed from a close distance, they could not find any enemies around him. Two of his companions quickly rushed forward to help. However, the moment they came into contact with that Zhao clan expert, they seemed to be infected as well. They let out miserable cries. This time, no one else dared to approach the three screaming people. They could only watch from afar in fear, not knowing what had happened. The three Zhao clan experts cried out miserably for a moment before falling to the ground and dying. However, the strange thing was that there were no wounds on their bodies. It was impossible to tell what had killed them. Immediately, everyone's gazes focused on the leading Zhao clan expert. Everyone was waiting for him to make a concrete decision. Chapter 1991. The women in the Dragon Palace had already understood, especially those who had followed Yang Chun into the Langya Well. They all knew Ao Lai's origin and how he had survived in the Langya Well. In the tens of thousands of years in the Langya Well, Ao Lai had relied on his natal fire seed, the spirit-devouring dragon fire, to burn the spiritual bodies of the cultivators one by one. The spirit-devouring dragon fire was invisible and colorless, so it was impossible to see it clearly. In the past, even Yang Chun almost fell for it. It must be known that Yang Chun was a master-level character who played with fire. Now, these masters of the Zhao family, even if there were fire cultivators among them, they were just ordinary cultivators. How would they know the power of the spirit-devouring dragon fire? Every fire dragon had a natal fire seed. The purple flame just now was clearly Ao Lai's purple yang dragon fire. Even if they couldn't name it, the Zhao family's experts knew that it was Ao Lai's natal fire seed. Since the purple fire seed had been extinguished, Ao Lai shouldn't have any other fire seed. Who would have thought that Ao Lai had a spirit-devouring dragon fire that no one could see or touch? The three Zhao family experts had clearly died under the burning of the spirit-devouring dragon fire. There were no injuries on the surface, but their souls had been burned to ashes, becoming fuel for the spirit-devouring dragon fire. It was unknown how the dragon-binding rope was made. Ordinary fire seeds that could hurt the dragon entanglement grass would be extinguished by a magical force after burning for a while. However, the spirit-devouring dragon fire was different. It would not burn the dragon entanglement grass, so it would not be suppressed by the dragon-binding rope. The dragon puppet had no soul, so it would not be hurt. The spirit-devouring dragon fire was Ao Lai's natal fire seed, so it would not hurt him. However, it was different for other cultivators. As long as they encountered it, they would not have a strong fire control ability like Yang Chun. There was no other way but to silently burn to death. The death of the three experts shocked the rest of the Zhao family. Even the leader could not figure out what had happened. Fortunately, the monsters that had been scared away by Ao Lai's dragon fury had been forcibly controlled. No matter what happened to Ao Lai and the dragon puppet, Chunyang Palace would definitely not be able to escape. There were beast-taming experts among the Zhao clan. Upon receiving their leader's orders, they immediately controlled a few demonic beasts to approach the dragon-taming rope from all directions. If the dragon-taming rope could be controlled, then no matter how powerful Ao Lai was, he would just be a turtle in a jar, not worth mentioning. Of course, they could not use Xian Immortal-level demon beasts for such a dangerous experiment. The beast-taming expert only controlled 3 Heaven Immortal-level demon beasts to approach the dragon puppet and Ao Lai. One was on the dragon puppet's side, one was on Ao Lai's side, and one was in between the two. The one in the middle was the first to move. The demonic beast grabbed the dragon binding rope between the dragon puppet and Ao Lai with its huge claws and pulled with all its might. Under the watchful eyes of the crowd, before the demonic beast could retract its large claws, it let out a roar that was comparable to being tortured. It jumped around on the spot for a while, then fell to the ground with an ordinary sound, never to get up again. Everyone could clearly sense that the demonic beast was dead, just like the 3 Zhao clan experts. It was still so strange, and no one knew how they died. If they couldn't do it in the middle, there was no need to even think about Ao Lai's side. Now, they could only turn their attention to the dragon puppet. If they could capture a dragon clan expert alive, it would be of great benefit to the Zhao clan's prestige and material gains. If they could avoid killing Ao Lai, they would try their best not to kill him. After all, Ao Lai could not move, could he? Unfortunately, no matter how good their wishes were, they were all for naught when faced with the spirit-devouring dragon fire. The entire dragon-binding rope was already covered in the spirit-devouring dragon fire. As long as Ao Lai did not die, this fire would continue to burn, and no one could touch it. Even if Ao Lai died, with the nourishment of 3 Xian Immortal-level experts and 2 Heaven Immortal-level demon beasts, who knew how long it would take for this fire to be extinguished. Ao Lai was bound by the dragon-binding rope and could not move, let alone speak. However, there was still a hint of mockery in his eyes, as if he was mocking the fact that so many people from the Zhao clan could not do anything to him. After being stared at by Ao Lai for a long time, the leader of the Zhao clan also felt a little embarrassed. So many experts of the Zhao clan were still looking at him, waiting for his next move, but he was helpless, which was extremely embarrassing. In any case, as a leader, he should adapt to the situation. No matter what, he had to make a decision. Even if it was wrong, he had to make a decision. Humph, we can't touch you now, but you can't escape either. The leader finally made a decision. He waved his hand to let the other experts of the Zhao clan continue to act. Let's destroy Chunyang Palace first, and then torment you. If worst comes to worst, we won't let you live. After we kill you, will your tricks still work? After saying this, the leader seemed to have calmed down. Since Ao Lai had been captured and could not move, the Zhao clan still had the upper hand in the situation. They only paid the price of 3 Xian Immortal-level experts to capture a dragon at the peak of the Heaven Immortal level. This transaction seemed to be absolutely worth it. In this case, the little loss of advance and retreat before was really not something he should have done. So what if it's the dragon clan? Do you still think that all the dragons are united? The leader of the Zhao clan walked far away to the direction where Ao Lai's big head was facing. He slowly squatted down and looked at Ao Lai, who wanted to blow his beard and glare, but could not do anything. He sneered and said, "Do you really think that we can't do anything to you? Even if I can't touch you, can't the expert who refined this dragon-taming rope do the same to you?" The experts of the Zhao clan had already driven those Xian immortal demonic beasts straight to the center of the mountain gate of Chunyang Palace. No matter how powerful the cave residence was, if no one carried it, it could only stay where it was. It would never fly away by itself. The people of Chunyang Palace were dead. Are you very curious about how the dragon-taming rope is refined? How can it not even burn your natal fire seed? The leader was proud. He was not afraid that Ao Lai, who was already tied up like this, could fight back. He quietly admired Ao Lai's helpless struggle for a while, then said happily with a smile, It's actually very simple. It's just that some dragon scales were added during the refining process. Simple, right? Dragon entanglement grass and dragon scales were refined. No wonder the purple yang dragon fire could not burn it. With the addition of the flesh and blood of the dragon race, it would naturally have some resistance to certain methods of the dragon race. It was not surprising that it was not burned by the purple yang dragon fire. But after all, it was not the body of the dragon race. The purple yang dragon fire still burned for a while before it was extinguished. I'm not afraid to tell you. I'll let you die knowing. Looking at Ao Lai's pitiful appearance and the eyes of Ao Lai for a while, the leader finally released most of his anger. Do you know? This dragon taming rope was refined by the dragon race. Surprised, right? It is indeed very surprising. Ao Lai couldn't speak, but the leader clearly heard an unfamiliar voice behind him. Chapter 1992. The voice belonged to a woman, and it was very unfamiliar. The leader could swear that he had never heard this woman's voice before, let alone knew her identity. How this woman got behind him was even more of a mystery. When the voice sounded, the leader had already turned around and looked around, but he couldn't see any unfamiliar figure. He released his divine sense to investigate, but he couldn't find any strange traces. Where's the owner of this voice? The woman's voice wasn't heard by the leader alone, but by everyone in the Zhao clan. With such a change, everyone naturally couldn't care about annihilating Chunyang Palace anymore. An expert who could hide under the eyes of so many Xian immortal experts for so long, it wouldn't be too much to be careful. When the leader turned around, he seemed to vaguely see the mockery in Ao Lai's big eyes again. However, at this moment, he couldn't care about what Ao Lan meant. All his attention was on this mysterious female expert. "Coward, come out!" The leader shouted loudly, but there was a trace of fear in his heart. There were so many experts by the side, but the opponent came and went without a trace. Just thinking about this kind of cultivation was chilling. "I'm right in front of you, can't you see?" The clear and elegant female voice rang clearly in everyone's ears, but everyone was confused. No matter how hard they tried, they couldn't see a figure. Dozens of incomparably powerful divine senses plowed back and forth in the area of hundreds of miles, but they still couldn't find a cultivator who could make sound. With such an intense search, even the smallest mosquito couldn't escape the detection of everyone's divine senses. But no one found anything. The unknown was the most terrifying, and the people of the Zhao clan panicked. Even though all of them were Xian immortal experts, there was no need to ask to know that the opponent that so many experts couldn't detect was definitely a deadly character. Right in front of everyone. How was this possible? Everyone opened their eyes wide, trying to see clearly what was in front of them, but no matter how hard they looked, they couldn't find anything. Could it be that the silent deaths of their companions and demonic beasts were because of this invisible enemy? Shua. Two incomparably huge moons appeared out of nowhere, hanging on the top of a mountain not far away. The moons were very bright, and they illuminated the surroundings. Miraculously, there seemed to be a kind of light in the two moons that seemed to be examining all living things. With the appearance of the two huge moons, everyone from the Zhao family immediately reacted. Just now, everyone was only focused on looking for the tiniest speck of dust, but they had forgotten to look for the largest mountain range. How was this a moon? It was clearly a pair of giant eyes. Now that the eyes had appeared, it would be much easier to find the other parts of the body. Of course, the eyes were on the head, and the head was definitely connected to the body. Following this logic, everyone from the Zhao clan almost collapsed after looking around. Everyone's faces were ashen, including the leader who had just been extremely pleased with himself. In their eyes, the huge mountain was clearly a gigantic dragon's head. The endless mountain range around, it was actually a long dragon's body. As the dragon's body rose and fell, it also caused the mountain range to rise and fall. Compared to this huge dragon, they were like the most inconspicuous ants. At this moment, all the demonic beasts had already turned into a ball. Their heads and legs were curled up together, trembling nonstop. The largest snake here was thousands of feet long, but in front of this huge dragon, it was just a small earthworm. Right now, the earthworm was also curled up into a small ball. At any time, it could be crushed to death by the tiniest finger of the dragon. The dragon binding rope was actually refined by the dragon clan. Very good, very good. The sweet-sounding girl's voice came from the mountain-like head. She casually said, very good, but when the experts from the Zhao family heard her, they were all scared out of their wits. The insignificant killing intent contained in that calm voice was enough to make everyone clearly aware of their current situation. Escape? What were they thinking? Even if they used their fastest flying sword and flew for the time it took for a jaw stick to burn, they might not be able to fly out of the dragon's territory. Use the dragon binding rope? However, one end of the dragon binding rope was wrapped around the dragon puppet, and the other end was wrapped around Aolai. Right now, they didn't even know what kind of deadly thing it had been infected with, so they couldn't even touch it. In the current situation, if anyone dared to casually touch the dragon binding rope, they would probably be attacked by this unknown huge dragon with all their might. No one had the confidence to fight with all their might, and no one dared to make the first move. Didn't they see that the other party had only revealed a little bit of its aura, and all the monsters here were already scared out of their wits? When Aolai appeared earlier, those monsters still dared to escape even though they were afraid. Now, these monsters were curled up here, trembling and waiting for death. What did that mean? The Zhao family's preparations could not be said to be inadequate. One dragon binding rope could trap 2 huge dragons, but who would have thought that there would be 3 huge dragons appearing in the small Qinyang Palace? This was the saying, one wrong move and the whole game will be lost. This time, the Zhao family's arrangement for Qinyang Palace had directly become the biggest joke. You don't move? The leader didn't know how he stammered out this sentence while trembling. Thinking about his own situation, he didn't have anything to rely on. Now, he could only turn his attention to the dragon binding rope. If you move, I will immediately kill that dragon. As he spoke, the leader of the Zhao family didn't forget to point at the tied-up Aolai. However, when his eyes glanced in the direction of his finger, he found something that made him scared out of his wits. The dragon binding rope, which no one could touch just now, was now being held in the hands of a young man. The terrifying silent killing scene did not appear. On the contrary, the dragon binding rope seemed to have a master and was quickly releasing the dragon puppet and Aolai's body. This young man was naturally Yang Chun. For Yang Chun, the spirit-devouring dragon fire was a great tonic. He reached out and grabbed the dragon binding rope. He didn't even use his divine sense. He just gently pinched it, and the extremely tough dragon binding rope, which even the intermediate golden immortal dragon puppet and Aolai couldn't break, was gently pinched off by Yang Chen's 2 fingers. No matter what formation or divine sense imprint was inside, it disappeared with Yang Chen's pinch. The powerful magic treasure that could deal with the 2 experts of the Dragon Clan became 2 inconspicuous pieces of rotten rope in an instant. With this, the dragon puppet and Aolai, as well as this huge dragon of unknown cultivation, immediately plunged the Zhao family into despair. Now, even if they wanted to die, it would probably depend on whether these 3 dragons were willing or not. I really want to know the situation of the Dragon Clan that refined the dragon binding rope, Aolan said coldly. Whoever says it can die a quick death. Chapter 1993. None of the Zhao family members were captured, but no one doubted Aolan's threat. When dozens of Xian Immortal experts and Xian Immortal demonic beasts were surrounded by a dragon of unknown strength, a dragon at the peak of the Heaven Immortal realm, and a dragon puppet at the intermediate stage of the Golden Immortal realm, it would be hard for them to die even if they wanted to. The first reaction of the leader of the Zhao family was to immediately pounce on Yang Chun, who had the lowest cultivation among the enemies present. There was no doubt that Yang Chun was related to the Dragon Clan. As long as they could capture Yang Chun, everything could still be salvaged. It had to be said that the leader of the Zhao family this time was really smart and decisive. He knew where the weakest link in the scene was. The idea was good, but when it came to the specific implementation, it was inevitable that there would be a mistake. The direction of the attack was not Yang Chun, but Aolai, who suddenly appeared in front of Yangchun. Aolai was very unhappy with the entanglement of the dragon binding rope. Now, he finally found a target to vent his anger on. Although Aolai was only at the peak of the Heaven Immortal realm, the innate strength of the Dragon Clan allowed him to display terrifying combat power even though he was a realm lower than his opponent. On one side, there were two golden immortal experts of the Dragon Clan and the dragon puppet holding the line. On the other side, there was no need to worry about the influence of the dragon binding rope. Aolai displayed 100% of his combat power. With just one bite, he crushed the leader's flying sword. Then, he bit the leader's waist. After that, Aolai began to vent his anger crazily. The long dragon body was not twisting at all. Instead, it was swinging. The leader of the Zhao family, who was bitten at the waist, was smashed in all directions by Aolai. Boom, 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 boom. Anything that came into contact with Aolai would be smashed into pieces. The leader of the Zhao family, who was bitten by Aolai, had his spiritual power controlled. He could not even summon the simplest protective magic treasure. He could only use his strong body to resist. In just a few moves, the originally good mountain gate of Chunyang Palace turned into a large piece of ruins again. The Zhao family could clearly see who their leader's target was. In the current situation, it seemed that Yangchen's side was everyone's only way to survive. While Aolai was angrily dealing with the leader, the other members of the Zhao family immediately found an opportunity to attack. They all rushed towards Yangchun. None of the people present were stupid. Everyone understood the principle of putting one's life on the line. Now that everyone was already at death's door, who would be willing to give up if they didn't fight for the only way out? Yangchun suddenly became the target of public criticism. However, be it Aolai or the dragon puppet, neither of them relaxed their surveillance of the experts present. Their every move was locked down. The moment everyone made their move, Aolai and the dragon puppet also made their move. Immediately, the dragon puppet flew to Yangchen's side and coiled around Yangchun to protect him. Then, it immediately attacked. Bang, bang, bang. In an instant, at least 3 experts of the Zhao clan who had rushed towards the dragon puppet exploded into a mass of flesh and blood. Far away, for Zhao clan experts on Aolai's side also fell to the ground and lost consciousness. From this, it was easy to see the difference between Aolai and the dragon puppet. Aolai still wanted to know more about the dragon race expert that the Zhao clan relied on. Hence, he did not kill them. On the dragon puppet's side, when the Murong sisters saw that their husband's life was in danger, they immediately used a killing move, showing no mercy. With the pincer attack from both sides, the remaining several dozen Zhao clan experts quickly lost their morale. At least 7 or 8 of them knew that they were no match for the dragon puppet and gave up resisting, allowing themselves to be captured. The dozen or so experts who were the fastest to charge collided head-on with the dragon puppet and were sent flying far away with heavy injuries. A large amount of blood rained down from the sky. The 4 or 5 experts sandwiched in the middle of Aolai and the dragon puppet were thinking of rushing to Yangchen's side. Suddenly, a black mouth with a radius of tens of miles opened from the ground and swallowed all of them in one gulp. It even swallowed 10 odd demonic beasts that were curled up and did not dare to move at all. Then, the mouth quickly disappeared, as though it had never appeared. You really know how to take advantage of others, Aolai grumbled in dissatisfaction. However, she did not say anything else. Although the Earth Dragon was innately good at hiding its tracks, it was still insufficient before a peak golden immortal dragon race expert. However, on account of the Earth Dragon being a moving mountain gate of Chunyang Palace, Aolai did not bother with it. To dare to take advantage of the aura of Aolai and the dragon puppet, it had to be said that this Earth Dragon was extraordinarily courageous. However, when Yangchun thought about it, the Earth Dragon had followed Li Cheng and killed tens of thousands of profound, immortal demonic beasts. It seemed like it was not strange for the Earth Dragon to have such a performance. The moment the huge mouth appeared and disappeared, the morale of the Zhao clan's people immediately vanished. It turned out that the trump cards of Chunyang Palace were not just a few dragon race experts. There were also strong, profound, immortal demonic beasts that no one had discovered before. Even if the dragon race had not appeared, they would not have had an easy time. Just how many trump cards did the insignificant Chunyang Palace have? The Zhao clan's people nearly wanted to cry. Even now, they still could not see what the true trump cards were. This trip was truly not worth it. The Zhao clan's people, who had completely lost their morale, finally crumbled. Aolan easily captured the remaining people. No matter what, they had to dig out that hidden dragon race expert. Aolan even wanted to ask him why he helped the Zhao clan refine the dragon binding chains to deal with the dragon race. After all the Zhao clan's people were captured, Aolai was still not satisfied. However, this fellow was very perceptive now. When he saw that Aolan and Yangchun had stopped and were waiting for him, he immediately gave up on tormenting the Zhao clan's leader. He ruthlessly tossed that fellow in front of Aolan and quickly flew over to Yangchun's side. After such a torment, the Zhao clan's leader was already dizzy. In just a short while, he had been tossed by Aolai no less than several hundred times. Fortunately, he was successful in his cultivation and his body was strong enough. Otherwise, he would have died long ago. Even so, the Zhao clan's leader was covered in dust. His flesh was lacerated, his tendons broken, and his bones cracked. If he only had one breath left, that would prove that he was not dead. Yangchun casually tossed a Lingji Du pill into that fellow's mouth. He did not forget to remind Aolan, "Big sis, just do your best. As long as he has one breath left, we will be able to treat him before continuing." The moment Xiao Chun said that, the Zhao clan's leader, who had just caught his breath, nearly vomited a mouthful of blood. Yangchun was an expert in treating injuries. However, he could not use it in such a place, right? This is too much of a bully. Friends are friends. However, you still have to compensate for the damage you caused to my Chunyang Palace's mountain gates. Turning his head, Yangchun said to Aolai in dissatisfaction, "Can't you watch where you are when you make a move? There are so many stone mountains, but you chose to smash my Chunyang Palace's mountain gates?" Chapter 1994. Aolai didn't want to look at Yangchun anymore. He plunged into the Dragon Palace, holding the wine jar that Sun Qingxue sent to him with a smile and gulping it down. He didn't say a word to Yangchun. From Yangchun complaining about Aolai to Aolai's disappearance, all of this was seen in the eyes of the leader of the Zhao family and heard in his ears. This scene made him have a new understanding of the relationship between Yangchun and the Dragon Clan. After being complained by Yangchun, he didn't talk back. What kind of terrifying relationship was this? Unfortunately, it was too late to know all this. Otherwise, he would have to reconsider this attack. Who knew that Yangchun didn't make friends with one dragon, but two? Aolan personally took these captured masters of the Zhao family away. No one knew where they went. It was estimated that what awaited them must be unspeakable torture and torture. Although the Dragon Clan rarely showed these things, when it was really necessary, they would never stick to the old rules. There were no masters of the Zhao family and demon beasts around. The enemy was not around, so there was no danger. The disciples of the Chunyang Palace began to come out in an orderly manner to clean up the mess. Speaking of which, the disciples of the Chunyang Palace were already familiar with this work. The mountain gate of the Chunyang Palace had been destroyed 3 times in the spiritual realm. Fortunately, the cultivator's belongings were all in the Chinquin bag, and there were only some daily necessities outside, so the loss was not big. Otherwise, the loss of the mountain gate alone would make people vomit blood. But then again, the Chunyang Palace was not without a big loss. On the mountain gate alone, the loss of the mountain protecting formation was huge. This was the mountain protecting formation of a first-class sect. Although it couldn't block the joint attack of dozens of Xian Immortal Masters, it was very easy to block the attack of a Fairy Immortal Master. Such a large formation consumed countless resources, but it was destroyed directly. Even at least dozens of disciples who presided over the formation were injured. Speaking of casualties, the hundreds of Xian immortal demon beasts released by the Zhao family a few days ago had caused the loss of tens of thousands of disciples of the Chunyang Palace in the territory. And this was only the sect disciples, not counting the natives who were implicated. There were countless of them. As for the other cultivators who were unlucky to stay in the pure Yang Palace during that time, it could only be said that their luck was too bad. Fortunately, this part of the loss did not need to be borne by Chunyang Palace for the time being. Otherwise, no matter how rich Chunyang Palace was, it would have to bleed heavily. The Murong sisters did not rest for long. After settling down at the mountain gate of Chunyang Palace, they immediately controlled the dragon puppet to wipe out all the demonic beasts in Linyang River. After busying himself for a few days, he finally killed most of the Xian immortal demonic beasts. The remaining few were naturally left for the masters of Chunyang Palace to practice. The territory of Chunyang Palace was temporarily settled. The Murong sisters did not continue to stay and went straight to the Five Elements sect. They were disciples of the Five Elements sect and possessed the dragon puppet, so they naturally had to contribute to the Five Elements sect. On the other hand, the other women did not need to be so busy running around. At most, they were human immortal disciples. The sect did not need them to be the main force. After settling down here, there was news from Aolan. In the Five-Element Dragon Palace, Aolan did not tell Yangchen the results immediately. Instead, she gave the corpses of the dozens of Xian immortal demonic beasts and Zhao clan experts to Gong Sunling. These fellows were already corpses. However, they were very useful for the geographical map. It is even more serious than I imagined, Aolan said to Yangchen with bloodshot eyes. She only said this after drinking 2 jars of Jade Dragon wine. Normally, Aolan would only drink lightly. She had never drunk like this before. It was easy to imagine how serious the situation was. Relax, big sister. Yangchen sat opposite Aolan and said very calmly, "Trust me, no matter how strong the Zhao clan's dragon race experts are, they cannot be stronger than Big Sister. You can control the situation at any time. As long as this does not change, no matter how serious the situation is, it will not be too serious." Perhaps Yangchen's words had an effect. Aolan finally calmed down after drinking another jar of Jade Dragon wine. Aolan tossed the jar aside and picked up the jade cup and jade pot that Yangchen prepared for her. Then, she slowly poured a cup and placed it in front of her before speaking again. The Zhao clan might have 2 dragon race experts. One is wood attributed, and the other is earth attributed. Aolan's speaking speed also became normal, no longer as agitated. I heard that they are golden immortals. They were the ones who refined the dragon puppets. 2. This time, it was Yangchen's turn to be astonished. Originally, he thought that the Zhao clan being able to win over 1 dragon race expert was already very fortunate. Unexpectedly, the Zhao clan managed to win over 2 dragon race experts. Including the one they refined into the dragon puppet, there might have been 3 in the past. The dragon puppet is earth attributed. Could it be one of them? Yangchen asked with a frown after recovering from his shock. Not counting the dragon puppet, there are 2 more. Aolan shook her head and continued gravely. I used some means. It is impossible for those Zhao clan experts to lie. There are indeed 2 of them. They even saw them in the past few hundred years. Saw them? Yangchen did not ask what means Aolan used. He believed that Aolan would not be willing to say much, either. What he cared about was the word that Aolan said. It was not seeing them, but seeing them. There is a world of difference between the 2. I do not really see them. I only felt their auras at close range, Aolan replied. Then she added, within 50 kilometers, those auras cannot be faked. These profound immortal experts will be able to distinguish them. The dragon binding rope was given to them by the wood-attributed one. The wood dragon palace with the dragon trapping formation was also his. The other party was indeed of the dragon race. Otherwise, they would not have used the dragon trapping formation and not the dragon binding rope. They probably knew that the dragon binding rope refined from dragon coiling grass was the natural enemy of the dragon race. If they did not want to attract the attention of those dragon race experts in the spiritual realm, it was best not to take out such an item that would attract hatred. Hence, they would rather use the dragon palace than let the dragon binding rope appear. This time, they had no other choice. That was why they used the public enemy of the dragon race. I'm afraid I have to go and look for a few old friends, Aolan sighed. Even though what Yang Chun said earlier was right, these two dragon race experts were not a match for her in terms of cultivation. Who knew if they had something like the dragon binding rope? Although Aolai was powerful, he would not be of much help in a battle between golden immortals. Furthermore, there were two opponents who might have grasped dragon coiling grass. No matter how powerful Aolan's cultivation was, she would have to consider the suppression of the world. Under such circumstances, finding a few more helpers was necessary. I have not gathered with many old friends for a long time already. This is a good opportunity to meet them. After Aolan sighed, she stared at Yang Chun and added, I will also help you obtain a metal-attributed dragon palace. Chapter 1995. Aolan and Aolai left Chunyang Palace in a hurry. Aolai did not want to be in such a hurry, but Aolan forcefully pulled him away. Aolan did not even complete the half-completed dragon palace, which showed how important this matter was to her. Fortunately, the dragon palace had been merged. Now, the remaining task of refining Howling Heaven could be completed. It was just a waste of time. It was not to the extent of giving up halfway. In the eyes of outsiders, the Chunyang Palace's gate was destroyed again, and the disciples had to rebuild it for the fourth time. This kind of thing happened so many times that everyone became numb to it. Ordinary cultivators did not have much of a reaction. However, it was different for the five major sect. The destruction of the Chunyang Palace gate happened after the five major sect vowed to protect the Chunyang Palace for 3,000 years. Although it was the mountain gate of the Pure Yang Palace that was destroyed, it was the face of the five major sects that was swollen. If this could be tolerated, what could not? Demonic beasts appeared in the territories of the sect. However, the number of demonic beasts could at most cause some casualties to some low-generation disciples. It did not affect the foundation of the sect. The major sects had a lot of experts, and most of them had begun to hunt demon beasts in their own sect's territories. In just a few days, the bottleneck in the territories of the major sects had been restored. The Zhao family was indeed vicious this time. When everyone thought that they had recovered their lost land and the sect's territory was as safe as Mount Tai, they released so many demonic beasts, killing a large number of cultivators. Those killed were all disciples below the Heaven Immortal realm, numbering in the hundreds of thousands. After settling the disciples, the sect started to think about how to completely ban the demonic calamity in the spiritual realm. If this continued, someone would throw a bunch of crazy, mysterious, immortal demonic beasts into their territory every once in a while. No one could stand this kind of torment. The only way was to completely exterminate the Zhao family and cut off this route. After settling the affairs of their respective sects, the news from the Pure Yang Palace also reached the five major sects of the Dao sects. Hearing that the mountain gate of Chunyang Palace had been destroyed again, the senior members of the sect were all furious. They clearly knew that the five major sect had promised to the public, but they still did this kind of thing to destroy the mountain gate of Chunyang Palace again and again. This was a head-on blow to the five major sect in terms of reputation and credibility. If this could be tolerated, who could not? Fortunately, the Murong sisters were at Chunyang Palace at that time, so the dragon puppet was able to control the situation and save the lives of the disciples in the mountain gate, but the mountain gate was destroyed in the end. Speaking of which, the Five Elements sect played an important role in this matter. At least, the higher-ups of the Five Elements sect still felt proud. When the Zhao family attacked, they had almost killed all the surrounding cultivators. Outsiders did not know what happened in Chunyang Palace at that time. Not to mention the cultivators who were not close to the mountain gate of the Pure Yang Palace. Even the disciples inside the Pure Yang Palace. At that time, everyone was also hiding in the Immortal's cave of the sect, and they didn't know what happened outside. Only Yang Chen's family, Aolan, and Aolai really knew what was going on outside. The Zhao family members and the demonic beasts who participated in the attack were all dead, so no one would reveal the situation at that time. Therefore, when the Murong sisters returned to the sect and told it to the public, everything was done with the help of the dragon puppet. Outsiders did not have to worry about it. Anyway, with the dragon puppet, Nothing was impossible. The Five Elements sect saved its face, but the other four sect seemed a little embarrassed. Sect Master Li of the Profound Heaven sect believed that his relationship with Yangchun was not ordinary, so he did not think that Yangchun would care about this issue. However, in order to set an example for the other sect, Sect Master Li still sent a high-level elder to send a big gift. On the surface, it was to do his part to rebuild Chunyang Palace, but in fact, it was to take the opportunity to make money for Yangchun and Chunyang Palace. Sure enough, as Sect Master Li thought, when the other three sects saw that the Profound Heaven sect paid such a big price so straightforwardly, they pinched their noses and accepted it. Who asked everyone to accept Yangchun's divine, perching jade so straightforwardly? Now that something went wrong, it was reasonable for them to pay the price themselves. Now that there was a Yangchun in Chunyang Palace, their status was different, so they had to compromise like this. If it were another small or medium-sized sect, maybe after this agreement, a bigger sect or an expert would immediately destroy the whole sect as soon as the Zhao family destroyed the mountain gate. In this way, at most, the big sect would find a scapegoat to destroy, and it would save a lot of trouble and a lot of favors. Sometimes, the world was just so cruel and unreasonable. Be it oaths or promises, they would all be trampled mercilessly. Fortunately, Yangchun and Chunyang Palace now had the right to be reasonable. The disaster brought by the Zhao family this time was even greater than when the devil tribulation first broke out. Countless cultivators who thought they were in a safe area, so they were not so vigilant, tasted the bitter consequences and paid a painful price. Some even lost their lives. Of course, the major sect would not suffer this loss for no reason. After a series of investigations, they pointed the spearhead at the Zhao family. After this incident, the Zhao family suddenly became the mortal enemy of almost all the cultivators in the spiritual realm. In the past, some neutral cultivators who were not affiliated with the Zhao family felt that they should not hate the Zhao family so much. Now they all changed their minds. The Zhao family had become a street rat that everyone wanted to beat up. However, even if they were a street rat, the strength of the Zhao family was still undeniable. Not to mention anything else. Even if the major sect now knew where the Zhao family was, no expert could get close to it. Those powerful demonic beasts alone were a large group of natural bodyguards. Now, the major sect felt a little helpless against the Zhao family. What others did not know was that the demonic beasts were still appearing continuously. Yangchun could not remember how he had quelled the devil tribulation in the spiritual realm in his previous life. At that time, he was on the run. How could he pay attention to deeper secrets? Now it seemed that the Zhao family had achieved their goal, so they took the initiative to seal the demonic beasts back, instead of the result of the efforts of the major sect. This speculation made Yangchun very speechless, but he could not easily share it with others, which made him feel very uncomfortable. Sometimes, Yangchun was also hesitating whether he should forcibly improve his cultivation and then close the exit of the demonic beast space. Otherwise, the demonic beasts would come out of that exit continuously, which would increase the strength of the Zhao family. It would be very inappropriate. However, if he forcibly improved his cultivation, he was afraid that he would have to cultivate again, which would not be a matter of hundreds of years. Just as Yangchun was hesitating, a person came to Chunyang Palace. The arrival of this person made Yangchun overjoyed. It seemed that all his doubts could be found in this person. This person, of course, was Yangchun's sworn brother, Li Cheng. Chapter 1996. In fact, all the problems Yangchun encountered could be summed up in the most core problem, which was the cultivation level that cultivators paid the most attention to. If Yangchun had the cultivation level of a great overarching golden immortal, then whether it was the Zhao family or the exit of the beast space, Yangchun could erase them at will without any hesitation. What demonic tribulation of the spiritual world! He could make those beasts disappear completely with just a flick of his finger. If Yangchun had the cultivation level of a great overarching golden immortal, then whether it was Gong Sunling's mountain river geographical map, Gao Yu's water and fire twin dragon horns, the Murong sisters' 5 elements hook, or even the Golden Bell Mysterious Sky Dark Sea Shuttle and the 5 elements Dragon Palace. Yang Chun could easily refine them. There was no need to consider the difference between the methods of the dragon race and the human race. If Yang Chun had the cultivation level of a great overarching golden immortal, then the mysterious heaven sect in the spiritual world would have been directly destroyed by him. There would be no need to go through so much trouble. He had to pretend to be a disciple of the mysterious heaven sect, play tricks on the core members of the sect, and deal with enemies every day. It was not a pleasant thing. Therefore, when Yang Chun met big brotherly Chung, the first question he asked was about the cultivation of himself and his family. Yang Chun had a way to quickly improve his cultivation level. Yang Chun now had plenty of Millennium Pills, but Yang Chun did not want to use such a simple and crude method. It was not because the method was not effective, but because of Yang Chun's self-created golden body secret art. The efficiency of this method to increase the spiritual power conversion was too low. In addition, this method of forcibly improving a lot in a very short period of time was not desirable. Even people from a demonic sects would generally not use this method if they wanted to improve their cultivation level quickly. Between becoming fat in 100 days and becoming fat in 1 bite, the latter was definitely more harmful. Lady Fanghua also had a limit when absorbing Yang Chun's spiritual power. She would not be greedy and keep absorbing it. She had to take turns with others. There was a better way, and Yang Chun would not use such a violent way to solve the problem. From the Three River Alliance's cave abode, Yang Chun obtained thousands of spiritual world fire seeds. Yang Chun's current yin-yang heaven-burning fire had only absorbed more than 1,000 of them, and there was still a large part that had not been absorbed and integrated. Every time he absorbs a kind of fire seed, it can bring the power of the yin-yang heaven-burning fire to become stronger, and at the same time, Yang Chun's cultivation base will also improve a bit. To Yang Chun, this was a stable and fast way to improve. Compared to using the 1,000-year pill, not only was it much more efficient, it did not have too many side effects. It was the most ideal method. Not having too many side effects did not mean that there were no side effects. When Yang Chun created the Golden Body Secret Art, he not only integrated the Great Yin and Yang 5-element spirit power, but also added the Yellow Turban Strongman Body refining technique, plus the Merit Book. The most important thing was that the Yin-Yang Heaven-Burning Fire was also added to it. At that time, in order to highlight his innate fire attribute, all of his spiritual power was mixed with a trace of fire attribute. This was indeed an unprecedented pioneering undertaking. From the point of view of the effect, it was very significant. The Golden Body Secret Art cultivation had only reached the human immortal 3rd grade, but its combat effectiveness was almost the same as the early stage of the Earth Immortal before the recultivation. It was exceptionally powerful. This unique pioneering undertaking made Yang Chun very proud. But when he recultivated to the human immortal level, he awkwardly discovered that there was a problem that he could not avoid no matter what. The power of the yin-yang heaven-burning fire was strong enough, but because all of his spiritual power highlighted the fire attribute, as long as he absorbed any new kind of fire seed, it would make him show a state of hyperactivity. This situation was a happy annoyance for a man, especially for Yang Chun, who had many wives and concubines. It was a kind of fragrant happiness. However, because the Golden Body Secret Art was created by Yang Chun himself, the matching double cultivation method has not yet been perfected. Sometimes Yang Chun did not even dare to be presumptuous with the women, for fear of hurting the women. There is no suitable double cultivation method to reconcile yin and yang. As a last resort, he could only use the most primitive method to solve this problem, which would take a long time. Although all the women were very happy and were nourished and glowing, the time wasted was not a small number. This was still the case where Yang Chun had not absorbed a new fire seed. If he started to absorb, it was estimated that every time he absorbed a new fire seed, it would take Yang Chun half a year to a year to eliminate the hyperactivity. As for the high-grade fire seeds, the time taken was even more unimaginable. If this was the case, it was better to cultivate step by step and grow faster. Yang Chun also asked Li Chung about this problem. They were all cultivators, and one of Yang Chen's wives, Zhou Xianying, was Li Cheng's big brother's matchmaker. This kind of thing was not to the point where it could not be said. However, when Yang Chen asked Li Cheng about this problem, Li Cheng could not help but be stunned at first. Then he spurted out a mouthful of wine and couldn't help laughing. He laughed so hard that he almost couldn't breathe. It was not easy to stop laughing, and when he looked up and saw Yang Chen's very sincere eyes, he couldn't help but laugh again. Finally, Li Cheng completely stopped laughing, and after drinking a few cups with Yang Chen, he laughed and scolded. "You don't know how lucky you are. Do you know how many people envy your method of improving cultivation?" Big brother. Yang Chen had never found Li Cheng's big brother to be so improper before. He rolled his eyes helplessly and asked, "Is there a way?" "Yes, of course there is." Li Cheng did not disappoint Yang Chen's expectations and said the word that Yang Chen wanted to hear the most. It had to be said that Li Cheng's comprehension in cultivation was much higher than that of Yang Chen, who had been reborn. When he began to seriously help Yang Chen think of a solution, Yang Chen could only use the word "look up" to describe his worship of Li Cheng. The one who tied the bell must untie it. Li Cheng's solution was still to find it from Yang Chen. To be more specific, it was to find a solution from Yang Chen's cultivation of the golden body secret art. Li Cheng asked about the golden body secret art in detail. In the past, Li Cheng knew the principle, but it was not to this extent. Now, Li Cheng had to ask about almost every detail of Yang Chen's cultivation in order to find a way to balance yin and yang. Even if Li Cheng was a genius and had a high comprehension, this cultivation method was created by Yang Chen after all, and only Yang Chen cultivated it. Yang Chen had the most right to speak about the specific feelings. From the details described by Yang Chen, Li Cheng found a few suitable points to break through in order to let the women with different attributes of the five elements be able to cooperate with Yang Chen from a certain point of dual cultivation. In other words, if Yang Chen wanted to dual cultivate with the women, he had to have at least 5 different sets of dual cultivation methods for the women of different attributes to cultivate separately, and Yang Chen himself had to cooperate with each of his own Taoist partners to achieve his goal. Chapter 1997. I have to say that it is a miracle that you can live to the present. Carefully listening to Yang Chen's explanation of his own cultivation process of the golden body secret art, holding the secret art of the golden body secret art written by Yang Chen in his hand, Li Cheng felt for a long time and directly gave Yang Chen such a sigh. Although it was Li Cheng's proposal to let Yang Chen create his own cultivation secret art at the beginning, and Yang Chen also gave some of his own opinions when he created the golden body secret art. But when he really got the detailed cultivation secret art of Yang Chen, even if Li Cheng was experienced and knowledgeable, he couldn't help but sigh. The cultivation of the golden body secret art was not an ordinary danger. Especially at the beginning of laying the foundation, it could only be described as 9 deaths and 1 life, and even 9 deaths and 1 life was not enough to describe the degree of danger. Such a dangerous cultivation method, Yang Chen was able to successfully cultivate it. It was also an anomaly. How much merit did you consume? The merit chapter was given to him by Li Cheng, and Li Cheng himself naturally understood the key to it, so he asked casually. A lot. Yang Chen did not say the specific number, just answer a lot. Compared to the cultivators in the mortal world or the spiritual world, it was an astronomical figure, which was not something they could imagine. Yang Chen couldn't remember the specific number. Anyway, it would not be a small amount. Li Cheng did not entangle on this issue. Anyway, this cultivation method of Yang Chen, even if it was given to others to cultivate, others did not have this condition. Not to mention how rare the constitution of the 5 elements was, how precious the yin-yang heaven-burning fire was, how impossible it was for the yellow, turbaned strongman body, refining technique, to have the pure physical strength of 1,000 jin. The merit required by the merit alone was enough to make everyone retreat. In the entire spiritual world, the cultivators who got this secret art and didn't think it was a fraud, it was estimated that only Yang Chen and Li Cheng were the only ones who could cultivate it. The only one who could cultivate it was Yang Chen. Although Li Cheng was strong, he was innately strong. With a single attribute of the 5 elements, It was impossible for him to cultivate such an abnormal cultivation technique. Perhaps in the future, there would be another fire dragon that would be reborn and possess the dragon puppet. It would be nourished by the Murong sisters' 5 elements, and it would take Yang Chen's virtue body honing pill to obtain full attributes. He was also of the fire attribute in his previous life. The physical strength of the dragon race was already very strong. If these conditions were met, he might be able to touch the edge of the golden body incantation. But at the end of the day, the problem was still merit. The fire dragon might not have enough merit to survive the early stages of the golden body incantation. Perhaps the physique of the dragon race was so strong that they could cultivate even without merit. Who could say for sure? Judging from the current effect, your golden body incantation can be considered to have reached the primary level. Li Cheng commented bluntly, "There are flaws, but there is still room for improvement. You can focus on these places." Li Cheng was worthy of being Li Cheng. He soon discovered the key points and began to point out the key points to Yang Chen one by one. This was originally a cultivation method created by Yang Chen himself, but he took the method to ask Li Cheng for advice. Outsiders would feel strange if they saw it, and they might even think that Li Cheng was too arrogant. However, Yang Chen did not feel this way at all. He was sincerely asking big brother Li Cheng for advice. The places that Li Cheng pointed out, Yang Chen firmly remembered them in his heart and thought about them carefully. Of course, Li Cheng did not forget to point out how Yang Chen should balance yin and yang in these parts, and directly use the original spirit power of the women for double cultivation. The great yin and yang 5 elements incantation was the original spirit power. As long as Yang Chen could control the yin-yang heaven-burning fire, then there would be no problem in double cultivation. As the saying goes, those who are difficult will not find it difficult. When Li Cheng pointed out these key points and then explained the principle in detail, Yang Chen suddenly felt that there was a light in front of him. When the truth was pointed out, Yang Chen naturally understood what to do. Next, as long as Yang Chen perfected the golden body incantation again, and at the same time improved the original spirit power of the women, he would be able to balance yin and yang naturally in the future, and he would no longer have to worry about the embarrassment after absorbing the fire seed. Although there was no immediate experiment, there was already a direction and a way to solve it. For Yang Chen, it was equivalent to a solution. Next, Yang Chen naturally did not bother big brother Li Cheng on this matter, but began to ask about the magic weapon of the Dragon Clan. Big brother, the magic weapon of the Dragon Clan is different from that of our human clan. Now that I have sacrificially refined it, I have completely noticed the difference. Yang Chen simply described his own sacrificially refined golden bell, Gao Yu's water and fire twin dragon horns, Gong Sunling's mountain river geographical map, and the Murong sisters' 5-element hook. Then he seriously asked for advice. "Big brother, what do you think you should do?" The magic weapon of the Dragon Clan is different from that of our human beings, and naturally the method of sacrificially refining is also different. This is common sense. Li Cheng was very generous and pointed out, however, when it comes to a specific magic weapon, it still depends on the specific situation. It is not necessary to consider the differences between the two sides. Seeing the puzzled look on Yang Chen's face, Li Cheng smiled and pointed to his wine glass. Yang Chen immediately filled his glass and held it in front of big brother Li Cheng with both hands. Let's talk about a used water and fire twin dragon horns first. Li Cheng unceremoniously drank the wine in the glass. After tasting it twice, he put down the glass and said, "What kind of magic weapon do you think it is made by a master of the Dragon Clan? It's just 2 high-quality dragon horns, and no master of the Dragon Clan has sacrificially refined it." Yang Chen replied subconsciously, and then he immediately thought of the key in it. The water and fire twin dragon horns were really just 2 dragon horns, and they had never been refined by any master. Otherwise, Gao Yu, who was only in the Jidan stage at that time, would never have the opportunity to have the ability to refine it. Since it was just 2 dragon horns, from the point of view of refining, it was clearly 2 raw materials. There was no need to care about the difference between the Dragon Clan and the human clan. What Gao Yu had to do was to step up the sacrificial refining. This was a water-dripping stone, and there was no room for falsehood. The Murong sisters' five-element hook is also simple. Seeing that Yang Chun had understood his meaning, Li Cheng continued with a smile. Now that the sisters are refining with a dragon puppet, what's the difference between them and the dragon clan? Isn't your dragon palace also refined with the help of a master of the dragon clan? The reason is the same. The dragon puppet has no consciousness, no spiritual awareness. The deeper the sacrificial refining, the deeper the control of the sisters. Yang Chen nodded. It seemed that the Murong sisters were really tempted to use the dragon puppet to refine the five-element hook. The only pity was that after ascending to the immortal world, they would need to refine it themselves. But then again, at that time, with that cultivation base, there was no difference who refined it. Then there is your golden bell. Li Qing took a sip of wine and said slowly,